All right, we are live. I want to apologize to Bruce Seasall channel, my brother's channel, who's currently doing his regular live stream. And here I am, his brother, deciding to backstab him and start my own live stream at the same time. Um, there's no danger to Bruce's channel. Don't worry. I mean, my brother's channel, a lot of his viewers encourage me and they kind of come over. So it's just me shooting myself. I mean, my brother's channel, a lot of his viewers encourage me. And yeah, it's me shooting myself in the foot by competing and starting the stream at the same time. So again, apologies, Bruce, but this was the only time that I was available to do it, and I was kind of excited about looking at this video and responding to it from Alpha and Omega Studios or production, Alpha and Omega Productions. I started watching it. It's very well edited. It has an interview with Anthony Patch, and just the just watching it, so many ideas just start springing up in my head, in my mind. It's a video that's a great conversation piece, and we are looking, as always, on my channel with a biblical perspective that God created, right? Prior, you know, God created angels and he created humans. Therefore, the Elohim, those spiritual beings, there's a variety of different kind of, we would say, angels. There's cherubim, there's sepharim, there's archangels, powers, there's principalities. There's a wide variety within the spiritual and heavenly family that are created beings. And then you have man. In the Bible, it's quite clear that prior to the angelic and heavenly realm, the heavens and the earth themselves being created, God was eternal. And the book starts really in relation to our creation. Who knows what has happened in eternity past with the Creator's desire to create. And it's completely fine. If we look at it, I want to encourage Christians, if you are Christians, that before jumping on the bandwagon of, yeah, these are extraterrestrial, these are aliens, beings that are interacting, or they're visiting us, and yeah, they're actually intergalactic. These are beings from somewhere within the universe. For Christians to jump right away on that, because they're trying to be honest with what they're seeing and saying, well, it's obvious, like there's something out there, so yeah, most likely aliens exist. The Bible makes it very clear that there is a spiritual war between angels, fallen angels, to be more specific, and that these fallen angels, when we look at the UFO, or now it's called unidentified aerial phenomena, whatever these lights in the skies, the orbs in the skies, these orb things that manifest and unmanifest, that sometimes seem to shapeshift, that defy the laws of physics and things like that. As far as Christians are concerned, this fits completely inside the narrative of Christianity. So we don't have to start scratching our heads and saying, well, maybe they're extraterrestrial. If it fits within the narrative, within the scripture, within the biblical perspective, as Christians, self-professed Christians especially, we should be holding to the biblical stance that these are not extraterrestrial or intergalactic, that these really are interdimensional beings. Okay, we know that in Genesis 6, the sons of God, the Elohim, these B'nai Ha Elohim, the sons of God, angels, created beings, they transgressed the spiritual boundary between heaven and earth. They descended. They, when angels in the Old Testament, you can see when they descend, they have physical bodies. They look like men. This again is what happens when they cross over. They don't have whatever spiritual bodies that they have. They're not beings of light, for example. When they cross the boundaries, they are flesh, and this is completely biblical. And this is what happens. So because they had flesh, they were able to mate with the daughters of men. These created basically hybrids, part spiritual, part angel, and part human. This is where we see the mythology of the demigods appearing in antiquity. You can see that also a large variety of them are snake worshippers. They seek the serpent wisdom, and all of these fallen angels are offering serpent wisdom. And it is powerful knowledge, and it is part truths perhaps, but it is an offering of divine knowledge apart from God. They offer you the knowledge, they offer you the secret wisdoms that became in all of the secret occultic schools of enlightenment, the initiated, the special enlightened people. This also progressed to Gnosticism, which is Greek for knowledge. Therefore, everything became about not God coming to save mankind from the rebellion and to make them compatible for the new heaven and new earth. This is instead no. This is secret knowledge apart from God, so that you realize that you're already a perfect spiritual entity, that there's no redemption really, there's no fall, there's no original sin, and there's no barrier really except for the blindness that you have. And in Gnosticism, Yahweh of the Old Testament is seen as a demiurge, a evil slave driver. The whole physical earth is seen as something, all of physicality, body including, is seen in Gnosticism as something that is bad, and that through secret knowledge we can escape physicality and return to being pure spirit beings. This again, as Christians especially, this completely goes against the resurrection of the dead. Now, there were Sadducees and Pharisees in the Old Testament. I believe it is the Sadducees that didn't believe in a physical resurrection, but the physical resurrection is taught in the Torah. It was the idea of the wicked being wiped off of the kingdom to come, and that Messiah would come, set up a kingdom, and that the righteous would inherit the land. And this is pretty much the Christian perspective, the perspective of redemption and salvation and atonement is done by God through Christ and is given to humanity as a free gift. What else here looking at it? And that all of the heavens and the earth will be renewed. There's war in heaven. It's not just heaven is God and good, and earth is bad. Christians don't see earth as being innately evil. It sees everything at this point being fallen, and that there will be a new heaven, there will be a new earth, and there will be as above, so below. So we see as the end of the age approaches, we see Christians, the arrival of the King right at the end. There's many end time prophecies that help guide Christians through these difficult times. Many of the stuff that's coming to fruition very rapidly insane prophecies being accomplished, some that are over 2,500 years old. Hey, my name, thanks for showing up. So let's just jump into the video that I want to comment on. And you'll see that a lot of reasons to stop and get into cool discussions will happen from here. All right, so again, I just want to give a shout out to, to this channel here, Alpha and Omega Productions. Don't agree with everything that this Christian channel puts out. They put out a lot of theories, and they're very entertaining. They get a lot of views. So shout out to him. Obviously, most Christian sites now are being demonetized. So this guy's asking for help. And I don't blame him. He does a lot of effort in editing these videos. So I don't want to steal all his thunder. But I am going to use his work as a reason to discuss. So let's get started. Support him if you'd like.
For many years, Anthony Patch has researched physics, cosmology, biology, computer science, and theology. In this interview with Paul McGuire, which aired 2016, he talks about science in relation to the Book of Revelation.
Let's first talk about CERN and the Large Hadron Collider. People have heard about that, or most people have. So they've seen pictures of it and all kinds of speculation and theories. Give us a quick definition first, just from a purely scientific point of view, what the purpose, what the collider is, what its purpose is.
Okay. Well, the scientific purpose is to take particles and accelerate them towards reaching the threshold with the speed of light, and to then collide them, fracturing them into smaller particles for the purpose of trying to determine the basis for creation, trying to find the building blocks of the universe and all known life. And that's what science will tell you in the public arena. But where my research has led me is into the hidden agenda at CERN. And that's really been my calling from the Lord, is to really reveal the truth behind the public agendas at CERN, which is a nuclear research facility.
Just want to make sure that the volume's good. Just let me know if is the volume okay. Okay. So my quick view here when it comes to CERN is that it is a fallen angel technology given to man to open up a portal for the end times. That's my view. Either the people working with these entities, I don't know. If they're satanic, then they likely know that they're fallen angels and they're completely okay with that. If they're unaware that they're satanic, then they're being, portrayed deceptively as benevolent space brothers. Or I think that when it comes to CERN, they are actually acknowledging that they are interacting with something not of this dimension, from another realm, from another dimension.
Utilizing a particle collider.
Now, it's in a giant, somewhat circular shape that covers, how many miles is that whole collider?
Yeah, as you travel along it, you cover 27 miles.
27 miles.
Kilometers. Well, geographically on the map, it's located on the border between Switzerland and France. It's near Geneva. It's a sovereign state unto itself.
What's a sovereign state unto
That
itself?
would
I didn't know it
be
was like kind of like the Vatican, a sovereign state in and of itself. And I did hear talk that China is going to make a even larger hadron collider. Perhaps right now it's a question of you know, the size that is not big enough yet to truly open a portal. When you look at CERN itself, just, you know, how the machine it looks like a Stargate as well. So you get all of those previous old shows, you know, when we were growing up, Stargate, and we can see obviously predictive programming there. It's my belief that both sides have to reveal their plan to humanity. Therefore, God has revealed everything from Genesis to Revelation, exactly what he promises to do. So that's been revealed. People can reject it or not, believe it or not. That's their choice. And Satan obviously has to as well reveal it. He is a master of loopholes. So he didn't write the satanic Bible, even though some people have written a satanic Bible. But there's no real inspired satanic Bible, you know, that's out there. What Satan's doing is that he is putting out everything that he promises to do within Hollywood, especially within movies, within music, the music industry. So all of those idols, those superstars. It's funny how you know, the famous celebrities are referred to as superstars, meaning, you know, super fallen angels in a way, because stars is symbolic of angels in the Bible. That is for sure. Stars are mentioned, and often the angels are referred to as stars. So we see that we have idols, you know, American Idol, you know, who's the best singer. So we have these idols that people worship, people emulate, people like listen to their words. It is very much Satan is revealing within Hollywood and the music industry his plans. This is why you have predictive programming and stuff like that, because God has to unveil his plan first, just like God unveils it in the Bible, and many can't take advantage of that because they're blinded and they refuse to come to the true knowledge of God. The same thing too is people just look at Hollywood and music, and many don't realize that that in a way is an act of worship. This demonic aspect of it perhaps was a lot more subtler, you know, in the 30s, 40s, 50s of Hollywood, in the golden years. And now we see that it is outright satanic. And not only that, it's outright satanic, and it is to be celebrated. And people who do not indulge in it are to be pressured to. So everything has been flipped as we verge on to the great deception here. We're at the last hour, the last minute kind of thing, where we see that we have not entered tribulation, but we're entering the birth pains, with all of the prophecies pointing to that.
A self-governing body. They are
So-
much like the Vatican.
So the I never heard this before. The collider is in its own state, like the Vatican.
And similar to Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia.
So it's based on, I guess, their theory or research or whatever, that if they crack open atomic, subatomic particles, just crack them open, they are saying, at least publicly, that they can find the secrets to the origins of the universe, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
But you say that this is not like speculation. It's from your research. You're saying that behind the scenes, they have a hidden agenda that they're not admitting to the public.
You can see, like, you know, Stargate and stuff like that, shows in the past. Here, let me punch Stargate series, for example. Over here, Stargate. Okay, here's a nice one. So predictive programming is true. Everything that that will happen, will show up somewhere in movies, comic book strips, a wide variety, songs, lyrics, everything. Okay. I think that the Hadron Collider is Babel 2.0. It is truly a Stargate. What's a star? Well, a star is an angel gate, right? Remember, stars equal angels. So these are the angel gates. And we know that God understood that he took something very seriously at the time of Babel, that he if we go, he says, we got to confuse the tongues, because you know what, if we don't, like, nothing will be impossible for these guys. So God had to go in right away and make a move, make a chess move. So that's to be taken seriously. Yeah, there's the Stargate. Check out Anthony Patch. And I'm doing this just to show you that there are a lot of well-informed Christians and well-informed Christian content makers, and we're all coming to the same conclusion about these interdimensional beings, about this is a large part, the part of the end time deception, that we're not dealing with galactic brothers. We're not dealing with our seed parents that seeded us here. God created the angels. God created as well mankind, not our galactic brothers. If you want to take that, well, you still have not taken God, the creator God, out of the equation, because and who created them, there's an endless revert. And I think that if we look at the physical realm that we live in, and we look at science that is trying to study the physical realm that we live in, and coming up with these ideas initially, maybe the universe was infinite and stuff like that, they've come, at least to my knowledge, to the conclusion that no, time, space, and matter at one point did not exist. So if time, space, and matter didn't exist, whatever this source that is the creator of all of this, we could say during the Big Bang, they like to call it the Big Bang. Well, the source of the Big Bang, science just is more comfortable saying nothing created everything. And I think a theist is not illogical to say that, well, whatever created time, space, and matter has to be timeless, has to be non-material, and has to be outside of this times, outside of the space of time, the area of time. So that kind of starts sounding like a theistic creator.
That's correct.
Tell us what your research leads you to believe their hidden agenda is.
Well, it's interesting because today it is no longer hidden.
Oh.
They are not hiding their goals. In fact, they're in a pronounced fashion announcing it. Last year, the previous director of the Collider facility.
We're going to stop and just read all of these headlines. In the past, what I have done is I showed the Shiva statue, Shiva the Destroyer, this huge pagan statue as well. That, Shiva, if you look, she's actually also in this huge circle. And again, what is that? That is a Stargate. That is and angel gates, where spiritual entities can enter through this portal. And that's why they purposely put Shiva the Destroyer on their on the land of CERN. It is an idol. It is an idol to a pagan god. Why are these scientists doing that? And I've done in the past as well the opening ceremonies, highly, highly satanic, undeniably satanic, and he edits it. So instead of me jumping around, this is why I'm using this, because he has some really good headlines popped up. but I'm going to be stopping off often and just sharing my thoughts. Here we see Adam Milton Baker. This is 2015. How CERN plans to use the Large Hadron Collider to open portals to other dimensions and possibly already have. This goes also with quantum D-wave computers. One of the TED Talks I saw on that, he says that they are getting information from another dimension and that there's entities.
They announced that their goal openly is to open a dimensional gateway to another dimension.
Something may come through dimensional doors at a Large Hadron Collider. Look, these are our headline. Who's Lewis Page? You go do your own fact checking here, just sharing the headlines. Top Buffon at the Large Hadron Collider says that the Titanic machine may possibly create or discover previously unimagined scientific phenomenon or unknowns of unknowns. For instance, an extra dimension. Out of this door might come something, or we might send something through it. When we look at Revelation 9:10, we see this passage. They had a king over them, the angel of the abyss, whose name in Hebrew is Abaddon, and in Greek is Apollyon. That is the destroyer. When you look at Shiva, the destroyer, Shiva is known as the destroyer within the Trimurti, the Hindu Trinity, which also includes Brahma and Vishnu. Shiva is the supreme Lord who creates, protects, and transforms. So just over here, the appellation of destroyer attributes to Lord Shiva. Okay, so we have this Large Hadron Collider that is supposedly just trying to look for the God particle, but there's a lot of talk even within them being snuck out that it's also about opening or communicating or playing with other dimensions. Then we have the warning in Christianity, in Revelation, in the end times, that there's a portal that is opened, and that is the portal to the pits of hell, basically the abyss. And the one that will open that is Abaddon, and in Greek, Apollyon. Abaddon and Apollyon mean the destroyer. And I believe that I've heard people say like, oh yeah, you know what, you Christians and stuff like that are as well atheists. You don't believe in hundreds of other gods like Zeus and Thor and stuff like that. You only believe in your God. Therefore, in a way, you're as well a atheist. We just have one more fake God that we don't believe. And I kind of always smile. Often I won't get into that because I'll be like, "Oh, really? You think I'm stupid now?" Imagine when I tell you that no, actually, I believe in all of the other ones. Maybe not exactly how they're described, but I believe that they are fallen angels. Okay, there's God, there's Yahweh, there is the serpent that deceived Adam and Eve. There's the fall of man. And the whole time you have the seed of the serpent, which is all of the Satan, all of the fallen angels seeking a worship. In antiquity, they were the demigods that are worshipped in all of the various religions. So there is a truth. We can see in the first book of Enoch, like, well, what happened in Genesis 6 besides having these like Nephilim, these that happen to be giants that are all over the Bible, well, they devoured the land. They sinned against birds and fish. What does that mean? All flesh had become corrupted. What do you mean by that? It means that they were doing not only DNA manipulation at the time before the flood that required the flood. They were also doing mixings of animals. And I think to a certain extent that the technology, the fallen angel technology that was being given, okay, to man or being put upon man was high tech enough also to be mixing animals with animals. And then we have this mythological remnant of the Greek gods, of the demigods. In the Bible, Genesis 6, 3,500 years ago, Moses wrote and said, these were the men of renown. These were the heroes of old. Even in the Old Testament, it says, this is the heroes of old. And it's been remembered through mythology, let's say now, to this very day. And we know that as in the days of Noah, Jesus said, so will it be at the coming of the Son of Man. We had angel rebellions, angel human hybrids occurring. So in the end of days, we're going to see this ramping up. And it's important because if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Who cares? Then they're aliens and they're galactic. And Jason's just trying to push Christianity, onto actual aliens and stuff like that. That's fine. I'm wrong. No harm done. I'm an idiot. I'll live with that. But if I'm right, it's important that people have that in the back of their mind. I'm just screaming out a possible deception that can occur. And if people are really, really not biblically literate, not interested in the Bible at all, they will go for this deception, hook, line, and sinker. God promises eternal life. That's through Jesus Christ. Satan will have his counterfeit offer for eternal life. It has to do with genetic manipulation. It has to do with transhumanism. It has to do with upgrades. They are going to arrive and they are going to say that they created us and that now they've arrived, and they'll offer us all of the promises that the Bible offers: a resurrected body, eternal life, all knowledge. Okay, we shall be like children of God. We shall be in perfect relationship again in paradise with God the Father, as well as the one like the Son of Man, the Son of David, Jesus Christ, who is God with us, also known as Emmanuel. The word Jesus means God saves. He's already accomplished and deserves the title Jesus Christ, Jesus the Messiah. I know lots of people like to say like, oh, his name wasn't Jesus. It's a transliteration. His name was probably Yeshua or Yahashua. It doesn't matter. Call him Jesus, call him Yeshua, as long as we know that we're talking about the eternal Son of God. Let's get back into the video. All right. Salut Jan. Thanks, Jan, for showing up. Ouvre des portes entre les dimensions. Yeah, Jan Luca has been talking about. He's like they've been doing this for like 30 years, and he's right. There's like a Aleister Crowley as well. If you look at the entity that he was speaking with, Area 51. At one point, there was some guy that was the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. They were doing also portal manipulations and stuff like that. And opened something probably in the 1950s around Area 51 as well. I think also that, yes, there is some technology, some reverse engineering to a certain extent. Maybe some of these pill-like unidentified aerial phenomenon, are those drone-like? There's even a question we have to put in question: are these grays actually alive? Could this in a way be a form of robotics where these fallen angels are able to use these alien gray drones? They have, they're very amphibious in how they look. So just like frogs and stuff like that, their genitals aren't like outwardly exposed easily and stuff like that. They have small slit mouths, small slits for noses, big eyes like amphibians, like frog like. Are they alive, or are these just high tech angel high tech and angel technology? And the big deception is, guys, we are going to play Space Brothers. We played gods before, but now we're not. Now we're going to just play Galactica Space Brothers. The whole UFO saucers and stuff like that has been, started this deliberate, you know, predictive programming kind of stuff has happened in the 30s, the 50s. There is the government that is now revealing truth. Is that just controlled opposition? Are they like revealing truths to a certain extent? But in a way, it's like, yeah, but all these truths are just feeding into the narrative that, don't worry, these are Space Brothers. This is not a spiritual situation. This is not a, like the Bible says, this is not an end time deception between fallen angels, and the return of the king soon. Yeah, Donnie Darko is saying, I saw them describe the D wave as kneeling at the altar of an alien god. I think you're talking about the same one that I saw as well. I saw it on TED Talks on YouTube. And you got like, the tiny microchip or whatever that for the quantum computer has to be, very cold. So there's like a protective box to protect it from other waves and stuff, I'm sure. And it's like a black cube, just like a monolith. I mean, this symbolism is just in your face, laughing at us. And you hear it's like a heartbeat of it. And he goes, it's like an altar to an alien god, a foreign god. So I want to know why everybody's atheist and secularized, and everybody now has replaced God with science, which is scientism, and but now that these scientists are talking, they're talking and using religious terms like alien gods, other dimensions. We're in contact with other beings. We finally convinced everybody that God doesn't exist, but now all of a sudden the atheists are fine with talking about these kind of topics. Une des collisionneurs particules se trouve près de France. Il s'était attaillé sur Terre. Yeah, just talking more about the Hadron Collider. Could Abaddon be a bad Don or Donald Trump? They always saying he's bad. I don't think, for various reasons, that Donald Trump will be the Antichrist. I think that if we look at direct Antichrist passages that are yet to be fulfilled, many of them are in the Old Testament have not been accomplished. There's going to be multiple things. There's going to be that one world government, obviously, that will be put in place. The Antichrist ain't going to come in when there's really still, when you still have to deal with different countries and stuff like that. He's going to come in place when the globalists really have power, where everything is centralized. He's going to come at a time of pure chaos. So this idea of the Great Tribulation and the Antichrist arriving, the Great Tribulation is considered Jacob's trouble. In fact, when the Great Tribulation starts, the first 3.5 years, there's peace, and things look like they're getting better. People are going to be so desperate because of a variety of things. There's going to be wars between nations, okay? There's going to be rumors of wars. There's going to be increased economic problems. There's going to be hatred between ethnicities. There's going to be this tribalism that returns. And also, we talk about the restrainer removing, gradually starting to remove his hand. That's the Holy Spirit that restrains all man's evil fallen heart, as and especially when we have the removal of the bride of Christ, then we have only unbelieving people in rebellion against God left on earth. There is in the end times a very geopolitical struggle and fight. We see that in the end times, one of the things that starts the end times is when God gathers back Israel that had been scattered throughout all the nations since 70 AD. He's gathering back a people, and these people, the first reason that he's gathering them back is for judgment, like he is going to judge all the other nations as well. But he also protects within the remnant of the people that are calling themselves Jews or Israel. There is a remnant that through all of the war, the dangers, the whole Antichrist system trying to destroy them, through that pressure, the fire of that trial, there's a refinement of the remnant. So it is not really preferential as well to say that in the end times, God promised a land to the nation of Israel, and he promised that he would set up his king, Jesus Christ, on that location, because we're going to have a millennial kingdom here on earth where Jesus is actually ruling, and we are ruled by the righteous King of Kings that comes in the name of his Father, a godly kingdom, the kingdom of heaven, as above, so below, will occur. And that capital of the world, Jesus in a location on earth, will not be in Canada, will not be in Washington, won't be in Antarctica. The return of the king sets up in the in Israel, in Jerusalem, on his temple, on his throne. So there's that aspect, and you're going to see a ancient war escalating between the sons of Ishmael and the sons of Isaac, this ancient feud for the land of Israel. We see that the in the Old Testament, because God promised Abraham that promised land, all of the Nephilim, all of the hybrid fallen angel descendants went and pooled into that promised land. It's always antagonizing God's view. And God had all of the conquest, Joshua, the Jews, that gave a bad report about these giants in the land because of their fear to not listen and conquer them. They wandered in the desert and did not enter the promised land. So God has seriously obsessed about this land after he gave a promise, and it was given to a certain extent to the Jews. But the Jews, there was a warning. He says, if you listen, I'll bless you, to the Jews, but if you rebel against me, I'll send you into exile. The Jews over and over have been sent into exile to return again to their land, except at the time of Messiah, crucifying the Messiah. 40 years to repent didn't occur. By 70 AD, they were scattered, and they were scattered till about 1948. And a generation is 70 to 80 years biblically. So we look when Israel was regathered prophetically. It says that when you see the fig tree, when their shoots are tender and their leaves begin to blossom, know that all of these things will come to pass. All of these birth pains will come to pass, leading up to Jacob's trouble. In my opinion, I think that the church is raptured at that time. I think there is so much chaos going on that we're also dealing with the sons of God, the signs in the heavens and the stars. So everyone's attention is being either obsessed about, this geopolitical war, the world wars that are coming. Then after, people are looking at this angel, activity, and interpreting it as they're, as aliens, right? And they're the ones that are going to be saviors. There's going to be all sorts of natural disasters. Each natural disasters, the globalists are taking more and more away. We're going to be surveyed. It's going to be, apocalyptic. And the fact that all of these things were said millennia ago, it's quite astounding how accurate we see these things coming upon us. And there's the genetic tampering, right? The genetic tampering. It's going to be a real ride. So here, let me just share about Revelation. I already showed you this. They had a king over them, the angel of the abyss, whose name in Hebrew is Abaddon and in Greek is Apollyon. So just this was Revelation, probably written around 90 AD. We're now, 2024. So John, good job. Pretty good guess. Or is CERN just mocking God and saying, oh, you know what? They talk about, the one with the keys to the abyss. And I would say the key to the bottomless abyss would be some kind of Stargate, some kind of portal. We can even go and look at what the Vatican, where they have their it's not called an obelisk there. It's where it's it's a big pillar right in the middle, and the outer shape is a key. But let me just show you Shiva Destroyer and CERN. Oh, why is there a statue of Shiva the Destroyer at CERN? If you have been keeping up with the happenings of CERN, the world's most advanced scientific research facility, you might have noticed the statue of Shiva the Destroyer. Shiva, the cosmic dancer, symbolizes the natural flow of divine energy. Blah, 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 blah. So, yeah. Anyways, we can see over here, this is the Destroyer coming through, again, a portal, a Stargate. That wasn't put there for no reason. And I think that it really ties with Revelation. Let's look at the whole Revelation 9 in context. The fifth angel sounded his trumpet, and I saw a star, an angel, that had fallen from the sky to the earth. The star was given the key to the shaft of the abyss, When he opened the abyss, smoke rose from it like the smoke from gigantic furnaces. The sun and sky were darkened by the smoke from the abyss, and out of the smoke locusts came onto the earth and were given power like that of scorpions of the earth. They were told not to harm the grass or the earth or any of the plants, but only those who did not have the seal of God on their forehead. They were not allowed to kill them, but only to torture them for 5 months, and the agony they suffered was like that of a sting of a scorpion when it strikes. During those days, people will seek death, but will not find it. They will long to die, but death will elude them. The locusts looked like horses prepared for battle. On their heads, they wore something like crowns of gold, and their faces resembled human faces. Their hair was like women's hair, and their teeth were like lions' teeth. They had breastplates like breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings was like the thundering of many horses and chariots rushing into battle. They had tails like stingers, like scorpions, and in their tails, they had the power to torment people for 5 months. They had a king over them, over here. They had a king over them, the angel of the abyss, whose name in Hebrew is Abaddon, and in Greek, Apollyon, the destroyer. The first woe is past, 2 other woes are yet to come. Anyways, it goes on and on. The rest of mankind who were not killed by these plagues still did not repent, and the works of their hands. At this point, the bride of Christ is no longer on earth. We're waiting to return. At the last moment, during Jacob's trouble, when suddenly God has judged the remnant of his people in Israel, and their eyes are opened, and they call out for Jesus Christ, their King, their Messiah. Jesus says, "You will not see me until you call out my name." When they do call out Jesus's name as their Messiah, Jesus comes, and it's a supernatural event. So are we, and the angels who have not rebelled, we all come. This is a quick victory for the King of Kings, and this is where the millennial kingdom is set up. But everyone that is left there, all the other nations there, at that moment are wicked. They'll be melted like wax from a candle, like throwing a chaff into the fire. During all hell breaking loose in the time of the tribulation, there are as well many people after the bride of Christ has been raptured, that first rapture situation. There are many through the trials and pressures and through all of this, God is judging, but as well refining and preparing a remnant for himself. It says that after the church has been raptured away, there are many that stand before the throne of God, being washed clean by the blood of the Lamb, saying that they have been washed clean during the time of the tribulation. A lot of weird passages, kind of like, no longer will the sun scorch them. So there's something that's occurred as well during this time. The sun is scorching. So there are insane environmental changes occurring. Stuff that does as well look like nuclear wars, for example. Let's get back to the video. Thanks, guys, for showing up. Thank you, Donnie, for your comment. Yes, I remember seeing that. We can hopefully get to it. Again, I'm confident in my Christianity, but I am just throwing out ideas here. I'm kind of saying, like, guys, just be open-minded. Keep this in the back of your head, because I'm also open-minded. Like, when I started seeing the ancient astronaut videos coming out and things like that, I wasn't like, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in aliens. I'm not watching that. I'm like, wait. There might be some important information, and they're just interpreting it as galactic brothers, but maybe they're wrong. So it benefits no one, in my opinion, to be closed-minded. The reason that I'm not just shooting my mouth out here, and I'm actually trying to use another person's video is, well, first of all, he did a great job. But second of all, I want to show that Christians do have responses to current events that are occurring. Christians actually are not walking around, at least the ones that are open-minded enough that don't get uncomfortable about Genesis 6 and things like that. That Christians are actually gaining more and more faith in the Word of God, because more and more things are fitting, and these are predictions from millennia, thousands of years before. How could they get it so right? How could they have guessed it so right? I'm over here, meow. Thank you, Count Derpula. Donnie says, I've seen a video where someone has been speaking with an AI speech program. Eventually, the AI started admitting it was some type of fallen angel. Thanks, Darla. Thanks, Kai, for showing up. Yes, Dwayne, I have completely went against my brother. I said, haha, it was my plan. I will do live streams and pull all of his thousands of viewers every day. That was my plan. No. I'm shooting myself in my foot. And this is the only time I had to do it. And I was kind of been wanting to do it for a while. Hopefully when Bruce finishes his stream, he can jump on and we can have a future, some more cool dialogue. Yeah, please press thumbs up. Alias, mon ami, merci. Don't forget, 2 thumbs up. Dwayne White, it's funny. I feel I'm not saying anything. I'm just gonna let people read this. Okay, cool. All caught up with that. Let's go back to the video a bit, guys. This way I'm not. This way, like these long breaks, I'm not feeling bad using his video. Like,
you might call it a portal. And when you begin to put that in the context of our everyday reality, that seems absurd. And he also made the statement that we don't know what we will find or what may come through from the other side, but we're willing to risk it.
This is mind-blowing. So we're not talking even really about your research. We're not talking about speculation. So Anthony, this is not a conspiracy theory. This is the published statement of the former head of CERN. And he's talking about, did he use the word entity? What word did he use?
No, he didn't assign a title to what might come through. Just that he didn't know what would come through.
He didn't know what would come through. So that's kind of ominous.
It is.
We're cracking open a hole in this dimension. Am I correct?
Yep.
Something may come through. Dimensional doors at the Large Hadron. We went through that one. Here it says, we're not sure, possibly it might create, or maybe we'll discover previously unknown scientific phenomenon or unknown unknowns. For instance, maybe an extra dimension. Out of this door might come something. And their whole satanic opening ritual with, the goat heads and the the portal with eyes coming through and beings and ghosts coming through, mocking the Lamb of God even in it. It's like, really, like, yeah, you know what, like, the opening ceremony is screaming, yeah, we're opening portals, that's what we're doing. And I think that people, when Revelation, that was written probably in 90 AD, John writes and guesses that there will be the key given to a fallen angel that will open up this abyss, and out through it, these horrible creatures coming from other dimensions will come upon the earth and stuff like that, talking about that this king or angel or fallen angel has the key to the abyss, and that name in Hebrew is Abaddon, and in Greek it's Apollyon. And now 2000 years later, we have this, Stargate. We're trying to open a dimension. Yeah, let's just call it, the Hindu version of Abaddon and Apollyon. Let's call it Shiva. Openly mocking.
And we don't know what would come through. From your research, tell us what you think he was implying, and what has your research revealed about what's really going on?
Well, the research has revealed that they're already in communication with the other side, with entities on the other side.
Wait, stop. This is mind-blowing. The research has shown that they're already in communication with what on the other side?
Well, in my frame of reference,
and you have the like obelisk and stuff like that. You look at the quantum D-wave computer. You can also look at the Kaaba in Mecca, is also a black covered cube and obelisk also.
I think we share this. These would be demonic entities.
And what have they assigned a word to the communication to these beings or whatever in another dimension?
No, other than to say that these perhaps are our benevolent ancestors from the stars who are coming to solve all of our problems and remove all of our ills from our society.
This is so powerful. This is what you're talking about, is a paradigm shift that's just about ready to detonate on planet Earth.
That's correct.
This is going to shake up the faith of many Christians and people of belief and non-belief. It's going to shake their very view of reality to the core. Just like when Darwin's theory of evolution was promoted, it just tore up people's view of reality.
That's right.
Oh, God didn't create us. We're evolved animals. I mean, that just ripped up the fabric of the entire sociological, spiritual structure of the planet.
The paradigm shift.
Right, a paradigm shift. And so we're right. Has the paradigm shift begun?
Watch. Here's another prediction. Actually, I'll continue playing this, and I'm going to look for something else.
Or where are we in terms of that?
In the popular culture, it has begun because we're seeing the predictive programming in the mass media,
In the films and
commercials. Think of it in terms of brainwashing.
right.
We are predicting the behavior of humans using human behavior modeling in the computer, using a program that if we put out this stimuli, we will achieve this type of response in human beings, no matter the culture, no matter where they live. And so this is going to what we're going to talk about in a moment, is the adiabatic quantum computer, which is artificially intelligent. Predictive programming, in essence, is saying if we create this program, a television program, a movie, and we put in images that are violent, we put in images about portals, we talk about aliens being benevolent, then it becomes sort of, in their mind, a self-fulfilling prophecy that people will believe the lie, become victims of that grand deception of predictive programming, and therefore will follow lockstep whatever it is they're being fed, so that you are able to modify their behavior and make them become part of the New World Order and follow the beast system.
This science of
Here's kind of an example. This is a Christian that was talking about, it's not prophetic or anything, but is definitely the wisdom and knowledge and foresight that you can gain when you have the Holy Spirit. This guy makes a prediction in 1965 that if he was Satan, what he would do. And it really, really looks like what we've done, how we've deviated, in the West from, a Christian country to completely atheistic, materialistic, secularized. We've left, and we think that we're actually that's progress. Personally, I see that we're not generating anything good, that we're in serious degeneration, and this can be seen by the current millennials. The highest suicide rates, the highest in a lot of areas, that shows that this is a far from thriving next generation. It's a confused, it's a demoralized, it is a sick and degenerate generation that is the work of the devil for the end times. Let's check this out here.
God sent me a clip of Joe Rogan seemingly having his mind blown by prophecy made in 1965 about the future of America.
What year was that? Holy shit. That's amazing.
But little did he know, not too far into listening to this alleged prophecy, would he realize that this actually spoke about him and his rejection of God. Let's take a look.
You pull up the Paul Harvey thing from whenever that was about
Maybe
the
let's
devil.
play that. Pull that up, because I haven't heard that.
Keep in mind that this clip had such a strong impact on Joe that after this episode, he even posted it to his Instagram page, which really made a lot of people start to wonder if this is yet another sign that Joe is closer to becoming a Christian. So let's go ahead and listen.
Joe went to a Catholic school, and the Catholic nuns, as you know, those schools, I don't consider Catholicism, especially at the time of Joe Rogan, 65, around being in this was the false church. This is Satan that has invaded the Vatican, doing, as we know, horrible things to children in these schools. The nuns and the priests were pretty much working for the side of Satan to completely destroy Christianity, to make it look disgusting, vile, hypocritical, false, and basically evil.
Listen to why this clip had such a profound impact on Joe.
If I were the devil, if I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness, and I'd have
This is 1965. See where we are now.
a third of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around.
All right, only 30 seconds into the clip, and this already has to be uncomfortable for Joe, because if you remember, in the past, Joe has said exactly that the Bible is a myth and that man created God.
Because Christianity, at the end of the day, with no proof, everything is mythology. It's a myth. Then you're believing mythology. You understand, mother, because the New Testament is utter horse, is to rely on ancient myths that are easily scientifically disproven. Well, that's what Christianity is.
So at this point, Joe has to know that he's exactly the type of person that Harvey is describing at this part. But so far, Joe doesn't seem to be reacting that strongly, and maybe it's because he doesn't seem to believe in the validity of the alleged prophecy yet. But as it goes on, he seems to become more and more convinced.
I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills.
Wow.
If I were the devil, I'd...
All right, so here Joe seems to be shocked because this seems to predict the opioid epidemic that we're currently in, which really didn't start until recently. It's led to about 40 million people becoming addicted to these pills, and it's led to almost 650,000 people dying in just a 2-year time span. But listen to what he says next.
I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn was consumed. And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions. Just let those run wild. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door.
Holy shit.
Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress.
All right. Now, this is also interesting because Joe has made it clear time and time again that he doesn't think that people's belief in God should impact our laws, as we saw in his conversation with Matt Walsh, for example.
Just because we have this institution that we've developed, that we think that, oh, it should, till death do us part. Well, that's it. You said it, forever. Now you're going to be miserable because in the eyes of God, you have to be together forever and ever and ever. Amen. That's it. That seems ridiculous to me.
But things only get more personal for Joe from here on out.
And in his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science.
Okay, did you catch that? Because that was
Everyone says that. I believe in science. I believe in science, even though you can explain that science is useful when we look at physical science to look at what has been created. We're trying to project into origin science and stuff like that, why we're here, what created us, and things like that, as well as science, okay, is the study of what you can see, okay, and touch and measure. But philosophy, psychology, spirituality, religion has to do with the inner man. So you could be an amazing scientist, but be miserable inside. So there's an inner world that man walks on this earth with that's a lot more real and important, but it's immaterial, right? We can't see it, we can't measure it, but we know that people kill themselves. Why? Because of inner suffering. So the inner spiritual world is very real, and science in the form of, let's say, psychology and stuff like that has not helped humans. Psychology, in fact, has really confused a lot and in a way pathologized our sinful nature. Instead of holding us accountable for this, it says, oh no, you have attention deficit disorder. Maybe some do. Oh, you have behavioral issues. What was it? There's an actual word for kids when they don't want to listen to their parents. It's become a pathology. It's not their fault. You know, they're sinful. We're born with fallen hearts. We will do bad things. This is the whole purpose of redemption in the Bible. Anyways, let me see. I don't want to see all of this video. I just want to
Things only get more personal for Joe from here on out.
And in his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science.
Okay, did you catch that? Because that was a big one. He said that they would deify science, meaning that they would replace God with the use of science. And this is precisely what Joe seems to have believed in the past, as he thought that our answers are better found in science and not God.
And as we have found more facts about the nature of reality and the world itself, it seems more and more preposterous with every day. Every day the scientists come up with these new equations that show the way the universe could have possibly been formed. They'll look at us now in 2015, they'll say, what a strange time, this adolescent period of enlightenment, where they're still concentrating on stupid shit, and the fucking president of the United States can openly talk about
it's
God.
very interesting to see the natural progression of Joe Rogan, with obviously his personal experience of the satanic Catholic Church nuns and stuff like that being demonic, giving him that is what the Bible is. And this guy here in 1965 saying is like, that's exactly what I would do if I was Satan. I would infiltrate the churches and I would do damage from within.
All right, let's keep going.
I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money.
Okay, once again, we have to stop real quick because once again, this one seems to speak to Joe because as I showed in another video that I'll link down below, this is one of the main reasons for why Joe rejected Christianity and became an atheist at a young age.
When I went to Catholic school, when I first got there, I was happy that I was going to go to Catholic school. But then as I experienced it, like, first of all, these people are so mean. My parents were nice to me. My grandparents were nice to me. Everyone was nice to me. And then all of a sudden I'm in this room with this lady who is representing God, and she's f***ing evil. She's mean. She wants you to cry. She would like try to get kids to cry. Scared the shit out of me. I remember crying. They were calling me a baby because I was crying. It would threaten you. If you didn't do something, you were going to have to sleep on a nail in the closet. You got to stay home. You're never going to see your parents again. She would yell stuff like that. It was like, she was evil. I hated it.
Yeah.
I was in fear of those crazy people. It was over by the time I was out of it.
So this is interesting because it means that when Joe concluded that God didn't exist because of the misused priest and the nuns that he was introduced to in the past, this clip gives an alternate explanation that doesn't involve removing God, but instead it says how the devil would use these priests and pastors to get people to stop believing in God. And oddly enough, in the past, Joe talked about how he didn't believe in Satan and how as a culture, we're now finally moving past the idea of Satan.
As it improves and expands, we are no longer accepting the idea of Satan. We've moved past Satan.
But I wonder if this clip started to change his mind a little bit. So now with all of this in mind, let's hear Joe's reaction to the rest of the clip.
Yeah, like the greatest, lie that the devil can ever, give you is that he doesn't exist, right? He doesn't exist.
If I were the devil, I'd make the symbol of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. And what'll you bet? I couldn't get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich. I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, in moral conduct.
See, moral conduct, that's been going out of the window. Patriotism, Satan is making the West turn against itself and call itself demonic when it's as flawed as man are. The West was an amazing system. It created the most prosperity. It wasn't perfect. It worked through slavery. It worked through inequalities. But now it has turned its back on God, and God is leaving the West to its own folly. Not only the West, Europe, and everything else too.
I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, that what you see on TV is the way to be. And thus I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing.
What year was that?
65.
Holy shit.
1965.
That was interesting. Yeah, Joe Rogan's gone. He's spoken. Well, first of all, Jordan Peterson, to my knowledge, yet is not a Christian. If he is going to turn Christian-ish, it's probably going to be the Catholic route. Hopefully it's more orthodox route with Jonathan Pajot, who has a nice influence on him. His wife is Catholic, though. The Catholic system in and of itself, I have huge issues. I have issues, and my head scratches when I see Christians or people that proclaim to be Christians. Then I ask questions. I say, yeah, but look at this. Look at what the Vatican's saying. Look what the Pope's saying. If my pastor or minister or any Christian site I was following would say anti-biblical things, I would immediately say, oh, nope, not dealing with that. So it's a conundrum when I see these Christians. It's not in my position to say, oh, you're a Catholic. No, you're not a Christian. I'm not going to be doing that. But it makes me wonder. And when we look at Revelation 7, the 7 churches, there are 7 literal churches at that time at the time was the Roman province of Asia. Currently Turkey. He's talking to 7 churches, but he's also talking about 7 church ages, and we see that there's the seven churches, the one that represents the Catholic Church does not get raptured. It says that church is thrown into tribulation. So I believe that the Catholics, if they are staying within Catholicism, are not going to be raptured. They will remain here on earth, and the Catholics will be in the tribulation. But it also says that many come to Christ during the tribulation. So it's my hope that during the tribulation, the Catholics are purified, do remove all the dross of this Catholicism, and come to salvation. Let's go back to the actual original video to create a little bit more discussion. So yeah, talking about Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson has been approaching more and more Christianity. I wouldn't say he's Christian just yet, but he did go on, and he did do a great a series on Genesis from a psychologist perspective, which is an amazing, and it's on YouTube and things like that. So he's smart, he's articulate, and Joe Rogan, sat there, and he wasn't just mouthing off that Christianity was like retarded and spaghetti monsters. He's slowly, I think, starting to gain more and more, at least, respect or a better understanding. Not all these like false straw men and stuff like that he creates. It's to watch. Keep an eye on Joe Rogan for sure. He's also had William Lane Craig. He's had some brilliant Christians that are able to defend the faith, and had some very good discussions where I think answers were given to Joe Rogan that prior to that no Christians were giving. So it's important as a Christian to constantly be sharpening your sword, so that you do have a reasonable reason for believing and give. Now, people will reject perhaps your response. That's fine, but you should have every day working on your faith to make sure that there's no gray zones. Let's continue.
Predictive programming that you were talking about, and it is a science. I mean, this goes back before H.G. Wells, the great science fiction author, and Aldous Huxley, Brave New World. They were employing predictive programming. And the Star Trek series developed by Gene Roddenberry, as you know, was for the purpose of predictive programming, to promote a UN global government.
Right.
And now, as you just said, all these science fiction, superhero, technological singularity movies,
transhumanism, Transformers,
right? Everything from Captain America, it is just embedded with this
in the culture.
Exactly. And so young people are they're conversant in what you're saying.
Yep.
But more importantly, what you're saying, these movies like Divergent and The Hunger Games, those movies are embedded with subconscious subliminal messages.
Absolutely.
They're not designed to be, in my opinion, just entertainment. They're employing predictive programming.
And let's go to the recent television show, Lucifer, how they
Yeah, I think that everyone's in agreement about predictive programming. Go check out JD from Garland Farms. He did a wonderful video on predictive programming over here. Go to Garland Farms. Over here. Oh, there it is. I missed it. Go to this one. Do chatbots lie? Coronavirus episode. He did I don't know where he got this. Asterix is actually a French comic strip, and within it is one of the characters' name is coronavirus. And that's all I got to say on that. I'm going to stop talking right now. Please go check out JD's wonderful investigative work and the rest of it here, So shout out to JD. Let's continue.
portray Satan as a debonair ladies' man, British accent.
Wow.
You know, they're making Lucifer
Right.
look good.
Right. Making
So
Lucifer look
talk
good.
about programming people
Right.
into believing a lie.
Right.
It's right in our face.
It's right in our face.
Yep.
So people being programmed, and we know that the result of this is already measurable. I was doing research the other day, and the fastest growing religion in America is Wicca, which, as
Right.
you know, is paganism and witchcraft. And number two is Islam. So now, this collider
Mhm.
and these beings that they're in communication with. So we're talking about the premier scientists on planet Earth right now, who are actively engaged, according to their own words, communicating with something with a personality, in their own words, from another dimension, and that's the purpose of the.
Did you notice as well, CERN, their sign is this, that, and it goes down. So it's actually 666 as well.
The collider. I mean, people need to
Yeah.
understand this is not science fiction. This is
That's correct.
fact.
That's correct. What I write about in my novels,
Right.
I place a storyline that is embedded with science fact. Everything that I present publicly in the books, public speaking, is all drawn from their own scientific journals and white papers. And then I'm able to see what they're doing, not just extrapolate, but see in the real time what it is they're doing. Not a future agenda, but what they're doing right now today. The imminency of what they intend to do, which is opening this gateway. And understand that the world of science in terms of particle physics also overlaps into DNA, into biology.
Yes.
There's a multifaceted, multi-level agenda at play, not just with CERN, but it's proof of concept feeder labs around the world that feed into CERN. So we are talking about changing humans, changing the planet. We're talking about not only bringing in information through a portal, we're also talking about definitively changing our way of life. This is a threat to our existence, to the creation of mankind.
A threat to our existence, a threat to the creation of mankind. So they're communicating with some kind of entity. You and I would believe that these entities are fallen angels.
Right.
And then your research has shown this is being distributed to feeder labs all over planet Earth, and who knows what other kind of research institutes and technology, because they have an end game of radically restructuring man, woman, the entire planet. This is an almost impossible question, but in a brief summary, give our viewers an idea of what their radical end game is.
Well, my answer is radical.
Say it.
Ultimately, it is to kill God. In the hubris of Satan, of Lucifer, he believes that he actually has the ability to kill God's angels and kill God. He believes he can create a new heaven on earth, that he can create a new race of beings. He hates everything that God has created, including us. And he is the mirror image of everything that God has created.
Yeah, you can see there's always going to be like anything that God said, you know. Okay, well, first of all, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. That is like, nope, nothing created everything. You know, that's pushed to us in the top educations. You look at the social sciences, Jordan Peterson says it's a bunch of garbage. It has been invaded by left woke activism. We look at James Tour, a highly decorated Christian biochemist with over 700 peer-reviewed publications, been cited in medical journals in biochemistry, tens, if not hundreds of thousands of times. And he is going after the science community that are saying that they're able to create life in the lab, and all of the pretty much the exaggerations and the lies that are giving people like Joe Rogan the idea that science has an answer to them all, when you actually have a somebody who is Christian that is also in this, like James Tour, he's able to call them out in areas that, for me, I can't call out a biochemist. I'm not a biochemist, so I have to acknowledge my ignorance. But people, you know, don't have to have PhDs and stuff like that, you know, to be smart. Believe me. And the evidence is that they have a lot of, you know, smoke and mirrors kind of things. So James Tour is a great example of some Christian who does strong, hard science, but is also pushing back on the claims that are fictitious. So he's an important voice. We can look at James Tour. James Tour. Another scandal at Harvard. Harvard debate review. Atheist scientist defends James Tour and debunks Lee Cronin's assembly theory. Dr. Lee Cronin versus James Tour debate the origin of life at Harvard, Cambridge. This is where, as Christians, you need to go. Not like these weird websites and stuff like that. Go to somebody who is still currently working as a staff member, also doing his own stuff in it, and world-renowned, award-winning scientist who is a Jesus lover. Okay, we also have, John Lennox, PhD mathematician. These are the Christians that should be educating us, and you should be fully absorbing stuff like William Lane Craig, like John Lennox, who debates all of the new atheists, Sam Harris and stuff like that. You'll see that when Sam Harris, Hitchens back in the day, Dawkins, when they have a sit down, or when they're on the same podium as people of this caliber, you see that the Christians don't look so stupid anymore. In fact, the tables are often turned, and smart secular scientists end up saying very, very stupid things when they're pushed. Sorry, didn't show it. So this is James Tour. Okay, you can check him out there. You can check out Harvard debate, atheists. This is the one I just showed you here. How about this debate on the origin of life? Okay, because before we even go after Darwin's theory, okay, we have to acknowledge that Darwin's theory doesn't have an answer to how the heck did just life come from inorganic matter, right? Where did life spring from? Biogenesis. That's not an answer either. That's but science wants to push origin of life science, so that not only we get this, I think, unscientific theory of Darwin's theory of evolution, we also can have some falsities that science again can say, oh, we even know how origin of life is. And James Tour is speaking out because, yes, indeed, they're saying this and people are believing it. And it's not true. And it's good that we have smart Christians that are credible calling this hogwash out. We can also go to just James Tour. James Tour. Over here, let's just check out James Tour's credentials. And this is who I trust. You have to put your trust in somebody. And this is where I am learning what science knows and what science doesn't know, in a way. So here's James Tour. Go check him out. So James Tour, PhD, professor of chemistry, computer science, material science, and nanoengineering at Rice University. Here's his. I want to see his. Here, it's kind of his biography. James M. Tour, a synthetic organic chemist, received his Bachelor's of Science degree in chemistry in Syracuse University, his PhD in synthetic organic and organometallic chemistry in Purdue University, postdoctoral training in synthetic organic chemistry at the University of Wisconsin and Stanford University. After spending 11 years on the facility of the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry in South Carolina, he joined the Center for Nanoscale Science and Technology at the Rice University. Professor of Computer Science, Professor of Material, Nanoengineering. Towar's scientific research areas include nanoelectronics, graphene electronics, silicon oxide electronics, carbon nanovectors for medical application, green carbon research for enhanced oil recovery and environment. He has like hundreds of patents as well. We can keep on going down, down, down. Go over here. You can read it yourself. Professor Tour has over 785 research publications, over 130 granted patents, and over 100 pending patents. He has an H index, which is equal to 170, with total citations over 133,000 citations in a medical journal. He's become a fellow of the Royal Society of Chemistry, and in the same year is awarded the Royal Society of Chemistry Centenary Prize. All this to say is this ain't like some like creation science guy that, you know, this guy is actually creating headaches for the academic community because he is calling them out on their lies scientifically. So I learned a lot. I learned a lot from him. Looking a little bit more. By the way, Dwayne, thanks for the comments. Count Perpella, Donnie, just trying to get through as much as I can here. But I'm reading the comments. If I popped it up, it's because I'm acknowledging it. Sorry, Jan, that there's no subtitles. I wish that they'd auto-generate just the subtitles in French, but I've tried and I basically have to type everything in French for now. So we got Rod R coming in. Hauser in the house. Thanks, guys, for coming from my brother's channel. Susan Ravella. My name. Donnie Darko, subscribe to these Christian Scientists. Yeah, if you, you know, want to go just and deepen your faith, William Lane Craig is great because he has a PhD in the philosophy of science. So I actually have more and more respect for philosophy, because philosophy is in a way the study of using logic, rationality, and asking some of the hardest questions. So I find that proper philosophical applications, kind of like exegesis of the Bible, and exegesis is Bible interpretation, but we use principles of hermeneutics to not create fallacies and straw mans and things like that. So philosophy, William Lane Craig is the person that you can watch debating the atheists, and you have to go, like, there's great benefit watching these debates between the new atheists, Sam Harris, Dawkins, etc., against John Lennox, William Lane Craig, checking out James Tour when it comes to origin of life. How far has science gotten? If nothing created everything, and these are just blind, random, chance selection through mutation. There's no intelligence that is kind of guiding things along. Well, look, we're intelligent. If blind processes created this, us surely with our science can create life in a lab. I mean, of course, and this origin of life, they're calling it intelligent design. So what we see here that shows God's invisible qualities, how intelligent the human body, the DNA is, that DNA is just not a bunch of nucleotides that are, banded together in a helix. We're talking about 6.3 million individual nucleotides. This is information. DNA is a blueprint for life. DNA is an instruction manual, and blueprints and instruction manuals and informations and books. These are written by a person, by a conscious, intelligent mind. And to say that, look, we created this, we created that, we're creating, AI, because no, okay, like, you cannot look at what God has created here and not see the fine tuning of the universe, not seeing stable laws that show a lawgiver. And you can't look at all of these things. You have to, you really do have to close a blind eye. But just like we saw in 1965, what he said Satan would do, we are at the point where, again, do you remember in that little thing, it talked about get them to worship science instead of God. So now you have people that are not checking up on the publications, and they're like, scientific community, they said that. Okay, well, isn't that a little bit of blind faith? Did you even go through a study? Maybe some have. Do you know the guy who published that study? No. So there is as well people just jumping on to the bandwagon saying like, oh, I'm just going to say I believe in science, and they think that by doing that, that they have pushed God out of the equation, but in fact they have not. Let's go a little bit more. I'm going to share screen. I'm popping up comments as I read them. Thanks, guys, for all of the comments.
That is all that is good. And so if you 180 that, if you flip that over, if you make it a mirror, think of everything that is good in the world that God has created, go to the opposite side. And that's what Satan's goal is, to present his form of life and his form of heaven here on earth using technology. Yep. Now, I need to make it clear that I don't hold any ill will against the scientists, the researchers, engineers. They are deceived into believing one of the original lies, that ye shall be as gods, that you will have immortality. That's the carrot that they've been offered.
So the scientists and the technology people, many of them are under the spiritual delusion or spiritual deception,
right,
that they're evolving man into, I guess, a superhuman or a god man.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Continue.
So if they're thinking in terms of what we are doing is for the betterment of mankind, that's the compartmental aspect of their research, the compartmentalization that they work in. Outside, they are cut off from the outside of who's promoting the machine, who's funding it, to what end. So if you were to ask one of those researchers and say, are you guys trying to open a portal and let in demons? And are you trying to terraform the planet for a new race of beings? What have you been smoking? Kind of response.
Right.
Because they are cut off. We have the opportunity, being removed from that compartment, to see it from a different perspective, from a bigger perspective, and that's given to us through the Holy Spirit, through that discernment. We are able to see what is hidden. We do our research, we do our due diligence, but then we clearly see what is really going on. One of the examples, going back to your initial question, the statue of Shiva, the god of destruction, is right there outside the headquarters at CERN. They produced a video last year from CERN called Symmetry, complete satanic rituals. Recently, just a few days ago, there was the opening of the Goddard Tunnel in Switzerland near CERN, purely demonic rituals.
Oh, yes, I saw.
Like, this is obvious. So yeah, this is, and I've done in the past about CERN, where we just actually concentrate on looking at this. But here we have, again, so we have this Hadron Collider. We also have people saying very scary things like we are opening up dimensions, or we have no idea what we're doing, or we have no idea what could happen. We know that I'm not really a fan of Stephen Hawkins, and his atheism and stuff like that. But he said before he died that this could be disastrous, that we could open up something that could in a way destroy the world. Now, as a Christian, I know that God is in control, that God has even allowed those who love him to know the beginning before the end. We have a blueprint in the Bible. We have passages that are coming true, and Christians that are well-informed, knowledgeable Christians are actually gaining more and more confidence in their faith as things start going more and more out of whack. There is a veil that's over people's eyes. Christians know that. You can have an extremely intelligent person. It is not us that opens the eyes. It is God that opens the eyes, so that all of the truth in the Bible, and as well as all of the fulfillments that are coming true, the God veils their eyes. So I throw this out there so it falls upon the right people, at God's will. But you can try and convince people. This is being thrown out like some voice in the desert screaming out, like, this is probably what's happening. It's probably not, the mainstream narrative. There's like, oh, everyone's like, there's aliens, they exist, they're hiding aliens, It's like, what if the whole time, okay, they were waiting for the end times to arrive so that they could have full disclosure that these are really aliens, and that's just controlled opposition. That means that everyone is so happy that now there is full disclosure and it's exciting. And that's what's the issue is with parapsychology, the occult, and things like that, that as Christians, biblical Christians, we're not supposed to play into. It's not that those things are false. It's actually that those things are quite real. But again, this is, forbidden for Christians to indulge in. It's not that it's not true. It's that it's harmful. And I think that there needs to at least be more than one narrative. If I'm wrong, fine. Who cares? Then yeah, they're actual aliens. Maybe they're benevolent, whatever. But the warning needs to be thrown out there.
Oh,
Go ahead, sir.
it was terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely.
That video of the demonic rituals
Yes.
of opening the tunnel, and I only had a brief
That's
opportunity to look at it. I saw what was going on. It
Mhm.
wasn't openly demonic. It was devoted to the worship of Satan.
It's in our face.
But I did.
We see that there's a symbol of the horns. We have the symbol of the lamb representing the Lamb of God, Jesus, in a mocking way.
I knew that it was the Goddard Tunnel.
You see Jesus, but you have these horns and stuff like that. In the Bible, the horn actually, the horns of a bull, okay, or cattle of ox, is symbolic of a strong king. That's why we have horns being used for other spiritual beings to take away the glory from the true King of Kings. So you will often see horns used. There is the Lamb of God. Jesus is an adult, okay, sheep, right? So he's a ram. So the Lamb of God that takes away the sins of the world is like the one in Abraham and Isaac's, when he's about to sacrifice Isaac, and God says, no, I'll provide the sacrifice. And they see a male adult ram with horns, meaning a great king stuck in the thickets. And that is a foreshadowing of Jesus Christ. That was the whole purpose of that story with Isaac and Abraham.
But I didn't realize it was connected to the whole CERN thing.
Well, physically, it's not connected.
Right.
I want to make that clear. But in the sense of the spiritual world and
Right.
the communication
I
through
see.
ritual,
Okay.
they are
Right.
connected. And in fact, in that ceremony, that demonstration, they showed the opening of the portal that CERN will achieve. And the tunnel itself represents, in physics, quantum tunneling, which is a communication utilizing an artificially intelligent computer, an adiabatic quantum computer, which runs its computations through another dimension, retrieves that information from another dimension, achieving a solution that we can use in our world. Now, that is real. That's not fantasy. That comes
Right.
right from the manufacturer. This is the machine that is employed now, just recently, now at CERN, and will be responsible for the initiation of the opening of the portal and the stability, the holding open of.
So, you guys, anybody here saying, Jason, no idea what you're talking about? This looks like a normal opening ceremony for a high-tech scientific hadron collider. Like, you're an idiot, Jason. What are you talking about? Okay, we have horns, we have lambs, we have portals, we have flying ghosts, triune, right? Threefold. These, the unholy Trinity. We see down here wings.
The portal for the receiving of, and I'll give this definitively, it's digitized DNA, demonic DNA in a digitized form, ones and zeros coming through this portal, received here, reassembled, if you will, and then presented to a hybrid body.
Now I want to throw you and I want to connect this with Yuval Noah Harari from the World Economic Forum. Stay here. We're not going to watch plenty of his stuff. Everything he's saying is on YouTube and stuff like that. I'm just trying to find. I've had a strike actually just talking about this guy, but he is just a historian, but he's kind of a mouthpiece for the World Economic Forum, which will play a large part. This is the globalists, the satanic cabal. Again, we know that those players that we see, the politicians, the big players, even right down to Klaus Schwab and stuff like that. There's even more powerful, true players that we don't even know about. And I think that as we get even deeper and deeper, we're talking about fallen angels. Hell, I've seen even, like maybe there's actual fallen angels that are in Hollywood and stuff like that. It could be. I've seen some like cool stuff about the eyes changing, turning like serpent eyes or black or weird like glitches. David Icke used to talk about the reptilian shapeshifters. I think I agreed with almost everything except I thought that was a bit stupid. But if we're looking at the other dimensions, these creatures coming here, I'm totally open to these spirit beings having the ability to as well shape shift at will or to a certain extent. When we look here, while AI and biotech are giving humans godlike abilities to re-engineer life itself. Now, I want to remind you that the apostles asked Jesus, when will be the end of the age? And he says, as in the days of Noah, so will it be at the coming of the Son of Man, when I return. And he gives many things. He talks about, the tribulations, the birth pains. He talks about tons of stuff that a Christian can hold on and see happening. And that can make us have more and more confidence through these end days, apocalyptic times. Don't forget that apocalyptic, we often think of Hollywood like whole floods going right over like a whole continent. Apocalypto just means the unveiling, revealing. And it is true in the end that things will be revealed. But prior to the unveiling is the great deception. Satan wants to deceive you so that you do not see the unveiling of the truth. Now here, when you look at the book of Yasher, so we go from Genesis 6 to the extra-biblical, intertestamental, pseudo-apocryphal book that is not, that was known by Jews and the New Testament writers. The first book of Enoch makes it clear what Genesis 6 is. It's about angels mating with women. There's hybrids. They're abominations. God, they taint human DNA, they manipulate as well animal DNA, and they sin against against all fleshes, against the environment, to the point that God has to remove them with the flood. And we see here that he's saying that humans are going to be giving humans godlike abilities to re-engineer. Okay, transhumanism, right? Intelligent design, our intelligent design to re-engineer life itself. Humans are still hackable animals. They see us just as animals, not made in the image of God. And the threat of digital dictators lording over data colonies is a realistic threat, according to Insight. We are no longer mysterious souls. We are not now hackable animals. It's important that you guys understand that this is how they view us. Okay, they view us as just animals to be controlled. They are the Ubermensch. They're the higher class people, and all of this is perfectly fine when you come from the point of view that there's no God, that there's no true morality, that everything is really subjective and relative. I've said it very often that if our first origin of life is in some primordial soup where molecules started very simple, microbiota and stuff like that, and then these microbiota turned into fish, and then after the fish turned into more and more complex, then the amphibians, then the animals, then man, and stuff like that. If we go down this, I'm going to ask, when we were a molecular soup, all fizzing and popping and fighting for dominance in a blind, unguided process, is there any morality? Was there anything evil or good happening there? And I would say that there was nothing evil and good, that there was no moral agency at all. When we look at our origins from this worldview, we can look and say, I really would never say that sharks are evil if they chomp on a surfer's legs. Sharks and the rest of the animal kingdom just do what animals do. I wouldn't say that they're good or evil. It's animal instinct. Snake bites because a snake bites, and et cetera, et cetera. But then we get to man, who they just want to say are hackable animals. And whether you're a Christian, whether you believe you're a theist, you're atheist, we all have a moral compass put in our hearts. Now, the theist can use philosophy and say that it is reasonable to come to a conclusion that there is some kind of theistic overseer because of what we see. And we can learn from that. But if there is none, then humans, it's just really an illusion. We have this morality in our heart. Everyone will agree that you shouldn't grab a baby and chop its head off and throw it, in the fireplace. You shouldn't smash a baby's head. You shouldn't, rape women. That all of these things everyone can agree with. But if we are just a bunch of animals with no higher aspects, humans are just we come from a soup, then from that you can get very, very, very dangerous and genocidal ideologies. We have left God, and this is what happens. God has warned us in the Old Testament, every time you refuse to put me as your king, as your God, to submit to me, you will be dominated by evil human overlords. And we just rebel over and over because we do not want to be ruled by Yahweh. We don't want that. So what he says is he leaves us to our own devices, and he allows us to be run by these people that don't believe that we're divine, that don't believe in a God, that don't think that we're made in the image of God. So our God-given integrity has been removed. They can do whatever they want. They can force whatever they want into our bodies. They can remove our lives, our freedoms. They can manipulate us. They can do what they want. And it is not evil, because that is just evolution. The whole process that has gotten us here is survival of the fittest. The strong dominate the weak. And it's a false ideology, but it's the ideology. It's the only ideology that's left if you refuse God. It's one or the other. So because of that, we see that this is the progress that we get. In his speech, right, says these include the creation of a useless class of humans. All right, the rise of digital dictatorships and their new forms of totalitarianism. There's biohacking of humans. That's unwilling biohacking of humans, to the point where they either become godlike or they lose all their spirituality. It's funny, in 1965, it seems like Joe Rogan, the video that we just posted, was spot on. Some of Harari's predictions are already taking place now. The US and China are in the midst of technology arms race. Each side's developing incredibly intrusive technology. China has created the surveillance state. That's going to be pushed on everybody. The Orwellian surveillance state will be in effect in the end. Some people are see, the Bible says what will happen and what won't. So a lot of people criticize and say, oh, well, Christians, look at prophecies and they say, well, look, it says that this will happen anyway, so we shouldn't fight back, kind of thing. And it's like, listen, okay, I'm not going to feel bad that the Bible is extremely accurate and that God is telling us, yeah, unfortunately, these things will occur, but I'll allow this to occur because it's going to occur, and then after I'm coming back, and this will be corrected. It is literally a checklist for the end times. While I see other people who don't believe in this, extremely stressed out, confused, and just spinning in circles. As far as Christians, who are not afraid to take the Genesis 6, the first book of Enoch approach, and that no end time Bible eschatology, what Jacob's trouble is, what the 7-year tribulation is, where did we get this 7-year tribulation, everything that this mythical book about a spaghetti monster is talking about is coming true. The guesses are right, so maybe they are not guesses. What would give a rise to the 21st century Stalin would be the 21st century problem of inequality, specifically people who become irrelevant in the eyes of the powerful. Those who fail in the struggle against irrelevance would constitute a new useless class. This is the Darwinian worldview. This creates a religion. Humans will always create some kind of religion or mythos. Okay, there's no choice. That's why God says, worship the true God, or else you will fall into the occult. You will fall into worshiping the enemy. We have no choice. Harari warned that AI in the 21st century would create a useless class. We're seeing that already. A bunch of people just stay at home, work from home, women at their fingertips. Hey, all you have to do is get an OnlyFans account. You can just start showing your body and doing sexual stuff, and you'll get tons of money. You don't really have to go out and work. You can do this, and things along that line. Whereas in the past, humans had to struggle against exploitation in the 21st century, the really big struggle will be against irrelevance. And it's much worse to be irrelevant than to be exploited. Those who fail in the struggle against irrelevance would constitute the new useless class, people who are useless, not from the viewpoint of their friends and family, of course, but useless from the viewpoint of the economic and political systems. That's why they're allowing drugs to be legalized, safe injection spots, pouring in, like that guy had spoken about, these fentanyl epidemics and things like that. So this useless class will be separated by an even growing gap from the even more powerful elite. We see the pre-programming, we see Marvel action, the mutations into superheroes with superpowers. God, through Jesus Christ, offers you immortality. Satan, through digitally downloading your consciousness and entering the cloud, putting technology hardware into your mind to connect to the web, to connect to the hive mind. All of this is possible. You have Elon Musk talking about we've summoned the demon when dealing with the AI. So the guy says we're summoning the demon, but then he's like the guy who is like the first to push. He's kind of like, oh yeah, we're definitely summoning the demon, but you know what? If I don't take charge of this, no one else will. So he's the first one to be pushing Neuralink and things like that. And we'll always push it for medical advancement so that it's accepted. But in reality, it's not going to be only used for medical advancement. It's going to be used for basically putting the metaverse inside of our brain. It's a promise of being all-knowing, right? In the garden, the first thing was knowledge apart from God, right? Once you eat this, your eyes will be open and you will be like God, knowing the difference between good and evil. So knowledge apart from God, again, we see this. So it's like Satan can't really create. He's not a creator. So what he uses is cheap imitations. But everyone is, God said in the beginning, he made man and woman, woman and man, he made in his image. This is being blurred, okay? The gender issue has been blurred. And obviously, atheism says that we are just a bunch of animals. We are not divine. We are not made apart. We're just, not in the image of God. God promises immortality. Here, immortality is promised. And all of this is without us ever being held accountable to something outside and higher. It's like, no, just, you will be as God. And it just says, we want God-like capabilities. The AI revolution might create an unprecedented inequality, not just between classes, but also between countries. You can go read the rest of this. He says some extremely satanic and scary things. He's not a prophet. He is just basically able to predict these things because there's a plan. And he's just saying, this is the next thing that we're going to do. In the coming decades, AI and biotechnology will give us godlike abilities to completely re-engineer life. As in the days of Noah, so will it be at the coming of the Son of Man.
Because as you said, Lucifer desires to be God, as the Bible says, and Lucifer desires to create his own race in his own image.
Exactly.
And I think you would agree. This is very hard for many Christians to grasp. It's a truth that is hard for Christians to really own. And that is, the world is exactly as the Bible says that it is.
Yes, it is.
And there's an invisible world, Lucifer at the top, his hierarchy of demons. He compartmentalizes information on a need-to-know basis. And at the very top, there are men and women who are open Luciferians.
Yes, indeed.
They have committed themselves. They participate in rituals to the worship of Satan because, as you said, they believe that they're going to conquer Christ.
Yep.
And Satan is the true, or Lucifer is the true God.
That's right.
Now, you said that, and I said that, and the Bible says that, but for some reason there's almost a veil in the minds of many Christians. And I pray, as we interview you, that the Holy Spirit would just break that veil of deception, and that God's people could really see reality as it really is, instead of living in this kind of fog state, which is based on their unbelief of God's word.
Well, let's use the collider for our purposes.
Okay.
Let's call that evidence.
Yeah.
It's physical, it's tangible, it's right there in our face.
Right.
If we accept the symbology they have presented, which is demonic in origin,
yes,
their statues, their videos, and we take that at face value as definitive evidence to the hidden agenda,
right,
we can say there's the machine, the most powerful machine, the largest machine ever created in recorded history of mankind. And that is definitive proof that we have a problem. This is a extinction level event, this opening of the portal. If we look at the wars...
Did you say extension or extinction?
Extinction, I'm sorry.
Extinction level, okay.
If we look at the wars that are going on right now, imagine if that portal was open. The key to the bottomless pit is the Large Hadron Collider. If they were to turn that key and open that doorway and we were flooded, the wars would seem insignificant and all the other ills of the planet compared to the opening of this portal. This is why it is imperative, because it's right now today and it's in our face and it's tangible proof. That breaks down our own veil.
Okay, so Anthony is telling you in a methodical, rational, logical way that we have evidence, the visual pictures, the videotapes, the published statements of the heads, some of the heads of CERN, and they are saying in their videos and the visuals and the evidence that you're talking about, if you showed it in a courtroom, it would be acceptable evidence, right, of openly worship of Satan and open admission of many of the agendas that you talked about. Now, since this is true, and it is true because you have evidence to back up what you're saying, and it also, there's no conflict between what you're saying and the Bible. In fact, the Bible would support what you're saying.
Revelation 9.
Revelation 9. And when their hidden agendas, when the fruit of their hidden agendas, when these beings start moving through the portal and entering into the earth, I don't think most Christians are ready for the physical manifestation and the supernatural changes that are going to occur in what we call our present reality. Our present reality is about ready to be violently shaken and reshaped. They are already in communication with something that has a personality and has ability to communicate. And the information that they're receiving must be very high level information, because they're feeding it to laboratories and technologies all across the planet. And what you said, which is so sobering, that video on the internet that captured it was an open satanic worship ceremony, I guess in the Goddard Tunnel.
Yes. And
I saw it and I was like, my mouth hung open because it was so in your face, Luciferian and satanic.
I would say we've probably not seen something that...
Yeah, okay, that is openly satanic, I agree. If you look at the Egyptian scarab, sorry. In mythology, so we'll look here. Scarab, Egyptian symbol. Scarab in ancient Egyptian religion, important symbol in the form of a dung beetle, which lays its eggs in dung balls. Fashioned through rolling, the beetle was associated with divine manifestation of the early morning sun, whose name was written on the scarab hieroglyph, and who was believed to roll the disc of the morning sun. So definitely sun worship, but what's also represent here? On its symbolic meaning. Let me go back a bit, see if we can get something. Egyptian scarab meaning. Several beetle, maybe it's concentrating. This, here. So the scarab beetle was an important symbol in ancient Egyptian religion. It was associated with the divine manifestation. We had read that. Should have looked into it. I looked into it a while back when I first saw it. It seems to talk about like a rebirth as well. And we have the wings here. So I'll allow you guys to look into this more, but what I saw a lot when I was checking a few days ago was about resurrection. It's a symbol of resurrection. So, you know, you have Shiva, you have the destroyer, but from that destruction comes resurrection. And that's basically, you know, we as Christians are waiting for the resurrection. Jesus Christ is the first of the resurrection. He's the first fruit. He has the resurrected body. And we see always the same counter you know, narrative going against the biblical resurrection of the dead to now them talking about opening up this portal, Shiva the destroyer, and through this portal comes the triune, you know, these scarabs that are symbolic of the resurrection. You know, it's do your own research, but not only did it protect those who wore it as an amulet while alive from illness, but when placed next to the dead, it meant that they could be resurrected and thus attain eternal life. This is what they're seeking. So do your own research on the Beatles and stuff like that. Sorry, I just went to the first thing that I could see, but I think again, it's very, very, very relevant.
Bold in the mainstream media.
No, we haven't.
In our lifetime.
Here we have, of course, Baphomet. Baphomet. Image. This is Baphomet, right? With a blurred gender, the breasts of a woman. Besides all that, very male looking. We have the goat, you know, with the horns, the sign of strong king. The star showing his kingship as a fallen angel. Yeah.
This is mine. It's gonna be in the safe.
Okay. So you can look into Baphomet, and you can see that yeah, these Baphomet statues, while we're pulling down in the States all of the statues of our forefathers and things like that, and taking crosses out of schools, out of everything, out of the government, out of everything, but you have these things being erected. So we have Baphomet. It's no problem. You guys can have Baphomet like statues starting to pop up everywhere in the United States, and they can put the you know, the throne of Satan, which was the backdrop to Obama's actual presentation. You can see I think it's the throne of Zeus, which is pretty much the throne of Satan. So there's a lot of interesting connections as well going that way. Let's continue. So Baphomet, very obvious. This is satanic. And we know here we can see over here, and we can jump. Oops, sorry. We can see here the watchers, right? So also these trumpets here. Okay, we know that in Revelation It's the trumpets are blasting, and after each trumpet, there is different waves and stuff like that occurring of events, quicker and quicker happening. They're referred to as birth pains initially. Now it's not birth pains. Now you're in labor. So yeah, we can
escalation, and it keeps getting faster and more bold and more prominent. The Illuminati symbols at the Super Bowls and these giant musical performances in stadiums by music superstars and the Olympics. There are in-your-face occult messages and satanic messages and symbols, which tells you there's a very powerful Luciferian elite in this world, very active, and they're not hiding.
They're not hiding it at all now. It's out in the open. They have to sneak it. They have to be a little more creative before. I just want to show you the eyes that we were looking at. Go look at the book of the Watchers. In the book of Enoch, the Watchers are the angels that are dispatched to earth to watch over humans. When God divided the nations, he put angels referred to as watchers over them. And again, these watchers sought worship. And because of that, God says that ye are Elohims, ye are little gods, yet you shall die like men on judgment day. So yes, angels are created beings. Angels as well, because they're created beings, can die. So go look into watchers. You notice how everything is connecting. And then you can go and there's plenty of discussion. This is all dialogue within the Christian community now. It seems to me that we have a very, very clear understanding of what's happening, why it's happening, and what to expect next. This removes a lot of the anxiety. It brings more glory to God. And, you know, we need to, my conscience, you can think I'm delusional or not, my conscience says that I need to speak about that and have it thrown out there. I don't have to force upon this message. I don't have to get stressed about it. I don't care if people do not agree with me. I feel that God has inspired me to send out this alternate narrative so that people, at the very least, if you're believing in the other narrative that I don't agree with, that you have this in the back of your mind, that you don't have just one narrative. If this is in the back of your mind, maybe, you never know, it might help.
Come out.
because they've progressed in their timeline to the point where they feel invulnerable and no longer have to hold back. In fact, they want to be more bold about it so that they can gather themselves more converts.
In Revelation, the woman riding the beast. I can go over here. The woman riding the beast. All right, so here, come and I'll show you the punishment of the great prostitute who sits by many waters. Where's the woman that rides the beast? When I saw her, I was greatly astonished. Then the angel said to me, "Why are you astonished? I will explain. I will explain to you the mysteries of the woman and of the beast she rides, which has the 7 heads and 10 horns. Heads and horns, these are kings. The beast which you saw once was," all right, blah, blah, blah. All of that to say is, why are they putting this in all of, see, the woman that rides the beast? And there's actually a lot of statues, especially in the UN. Here's an example over here. Am I showing this screen? Sorry, guys. Woman riding the beast. Okay. Yeah. Anyways, the woman riding the beast. You can see here the statue of the Greek myth of Europa. These are showing up in front of public institutions. So you're not allowed, right? This is the European Union, in front of the European Union. So yeah, get all Christianity out of there, guys. Get all of the cross out of there and everything. But no problem. Throw up some Shiva statues here, some Baphomet statues over there. Throne of Satan here. The woman that rides the beast in front of political strife. So I thought we were taking out religion from these government institutions. So why are you guys removing it then after putting satanic satanic symbolism in there? Well, it's not a head scratcher. Here you go. This is in front of the European Union. You have the European Union, I believe, that is built literally like the Tower of Babel as well. So you have here the EU Tower of Babel. Here's a share screen. So you have, the Tower of Babel that looks, in paintings. So this is the Tower of Babel that we often see in a lot of the paintings. So European Parliament, yeah, make sure to get like God out of all of the government, but let's put the woman riding the beast on there. Let's, mockingly, say that we are the Tower of Babel 2.0. They talk about, I think it's many languages, one voice in a way, returning back to God was like, these people are of all of one language and common thought or something, and it's dangerous because they're one in language and one in thought, and they're devising something that is against God. So that's why he confused the languages. Now we know that we have AI and everyone can just easily communicate with each other. There's a Chinese lady at a general store when I was buying something. She was just like, I spoke, she'd look, she'd type it in, and I'd read back and forth. We were able to communicate. All of this language will be already auto-generated, so everyone will be able to communicate. There'll be no more language barriers, really, which seems like a good thing, and it is good when we're of one language and one mind. But when it's against God, it's not a good idea. So I'm just trying to show you that there's a lot of satanic stuff appearing here. Sorry, guys, this is what I'm showing. I'm like delaying here. Every time I press something, I forget to share. There's also a passage for the end times that says that if Jesus does not come when he comes, there'd be zero flesh left on the earth. That's serious. That's how bad it will be before the coming of the Son of Man at the very last minute, where pretty much just like the danger before the flood of all flesh being corrupted, and God had to come in. This is all planned out. God is allowing things to happen for a reason, but he is on the throne. And as a Christian, I'm just following step by step and going, this is insane that this book thousands of years ago can be this accurate and relevant and useful for me as a guide in this current time, while everybody else seems to be like just creating their own theories and confused. And a lot of people, it's making their hearts grow cold, just like the Bible warned as well. My heart isn't growing cold. Let's continue.
To their way.
That would make
Pull away
sense.
from us.
Yeah, that would make sense because here in the U.S. we have this rise in the satanic churches.
Exactly.
Just openly recruiting, evangelizing, which wouldn't have occurred even 5 or 6 years ago.
That's correct.
Now, we're talking about how the information distributed to the scientists and others is compartmentalized.
Yes.
So you talk to many of these scientists, and I've talked to some of these scientists, and they have no clue as to what you're talking about.
Correct.
And it was obvious to me talking to some of them is that they only have compartmentalized information. Now, you and I
Go a little slower because I want to be able to read the headlines here. Humanity could be on the verge of an unprecedented merging of human biology with advanced technology.
I would agree that it's kind of Lucifer's organizational structure is pyramidal,
Absolutely.
with Lucifer on top, and then it's on a need-to-know basis, kind of like a corporation
Sure.
where Lucifer is the CEO, the founder, and the chairman of the board.
Sure.
So at the highest level, and we know this from reading the documents behind the founding of the United Nations and so many other organizations, you know, these people were disciples of Madame Blavatsky.
This is Helena Blavatsky from the Theosophy Society. I remember I read all her stuff, and yeah, she worships Lucifer, the light bearer, very Gnostic, that Yahweh created man, wanted to keep them stupid, but the light of the Lucifer, the serpent, was there to liberate man, and it's very Gnostic. If you look at Gnosticism, it's a hatred of Yahweh, calls him a demiurge, and then worships the monad. And many are very pro-serpent, and we can see that all throughout all of the other cultures. Look at the Mayans, the Aztecs. We got Quetzalcoatl. We have serpent mounds. We have in the East, we have serpent worship. In Hindu, like the snakes just slither around, and they're like, you know, pets and stuff like that. But they also practice Kundalini meditation, which is a process of rising this serpentine energy through your chakras to open up, you know, your third eye and your last chakra of enlightenment. All of this is very pro-serpent, and it's not a coincidence. It's like you got the Torah that's really, you know, speaks specifically what the serpent is. You got Christianity, and then you have all the other religions that seem to be super pro serpent. All of the fallen angels offer Lucifer's wisdom, serpent wisdom.
Who openly promoted the worship of Satan.
Absolutely.
There's also Manly P. Hall, also a highly decorated Freemason that was also involved with Theosophy. Same thing. It's the worship of Lucifer. Not at the lower levels, but at the higher levels, you start realizing that they are worshiping Lucifer. It says it in Albert Pike's Morals and Dogma. I'm gonna have to get that book if I can, and we will look. And these are all openly Luciferian.
So who would you say, is there an organization or is it a group of secret individuals? Who would you say is running this thing, driving it on a human level? And who is ultimately, I know they're using lower level sources to
Sure.
Who's financing this?
Right out of the Vatican.
Right out of the Vatican. That
If you need to put a figurehead to that, we can call it the Pope, but he's a figurehead much like any president or dictator. But he is the figurehead for the structure. The Vatican finances and creates the governmental controls for the entire world. It doesn't matter the culture or the government. Everybody in line.
Like I've showed you multiple times, like the serpent room. We have the obelisk, you know, and around there's a key. Looks like the key to the bottomless pit. We have the throne room where it looks like the hordes of hell coming out. Looks like Abaddon, the destroyer. Looks like the pit of hell being opened up. We have the hair of Christ just pushed to one side is the shape of a serpent. It's just on and on. It's just blatantly satanic. I just want to show you here how serious things get. And except those days should be shortened, there should be no flesh be survived. But for the elect's sake, can't speak right now. Matthew, and except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Then, if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders. Don't forget I'm streaming. So I just want to throw that one out there. Let's go to this one and continue.
Lockstep takes their orders from the Vatican. If you were to look at our legal systems, no matter the country, they all derive from the legal system that is put forth by the Vatican. Now they have their minions that are sprinkled out and infiltrated into many organizations like the Illuminati, but the short answer is the Vatican. They worship Saturn, the black sun. If you look at and look for images of Saturn in the clothing, in the adornments, in the temples, you will see representations of Saturn everywhere. This is the satanic worship of their false sun, their false god, Saturn. That is where they derive their energy from that worship of their false god, Saturn. Now, that sounds absurd. Most people would never put Saturn and the Vatican together, but it's easy enough to see. It isn't that occulted.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, who's running CERN, who's pushing the agenda, comes right out of the Vatican.
But at the same time, outside of the organizational structure and hierarchy of the Vatican.
See this is the Vatican building, serpentine.
There are many Catholics like the late Malachi
inside. So imagine it's like, yeah, I'm a Christian, I love Jesus and stuff like that. And I'm sitting here and I'm going, anybody else realize that this is like a room that's the shape of a serpent? Is that cool? Are we supposed to?
Malachi Martin and others, another guy who they say committed suicide, but by hanging himself, but that was very doubtful.
Right.
Malachi Martin, a Catholic, and I believe he was a Jesuit.
Yep.
Warned as a Catholic apologist, he warned of the incense of Satan penetrating the Vatican. And what he was saying, as you know, is that he was alluding. It was his thesis, Malachi Martin, that Satanism had penetrated the Vatican.
It reached an epoch.
Right. So you're not saying all Catholics are.
Certainly not.
Right. Okay.
But we're talking about, if you will, a governmental structure.
Right.
A political, a theological structure. We're not attacking people.
Right.
But we're looking at the structure that was assembled and promulgated by Satan himself, and the direct, in-your-face worship of Lucifer by that hierarchy in that structure.
Okay. So
and it says the apostasy of the church is not limited to Catholicism. In Revelation 7, the next church is pretty much the Protestant church, or the church that broke from this one. They're considered lukewarm, just as in the end falling into corruption and stuff like that. So there's a complete breakdown of the institutions, but we see this happening in all our institutions, the academic institutions, the political, like the government institutions, the religious institutions. Even if Christianity is true, it doesn't mean that the organizations cannot be heavily corrupted and to the point of being infiltrated by Satan and demonic working against. But this is actually in 1965, the other guy that Joe Rogan was listening to say, if I was Satan, well, I'd infiltrate the Christian institutions. And that's what happens.
It's interesting to me because I get emails from everybody, and you have one segment saying it's the Jews who are responsible for all the evils in the world, and
Sure.
protocols of the learned elders of Zion, and then some say it's the Vatican, and there's this whirl of confusion. I don't want to totally get into that, but
Sure.
it is interesting though that the Vatican has had a number of spokesmen, and I believe the current Pope recently made a statement, and tell me if you know the statement, alluding to the fact of some kind of extraterrestrial alien visitation. Tell our viewers about that.
Well, he's come right out. The short response is that he said that should we be visited or discover or communicate with, quote, aliens, which is a broad stroke term in itself, he would welcome the opportunity, and I'm paraphrasing, to baptize another form of life, aliens. Where's that in the Bible?
Right.
That's my challenge to him.
And there's been a number. I mean, they have as I understand it, some Vatican ambassador. That's not probably the right word. Program for ETs.
Sure, and a UN. We have a UN spokesperson for the visitation by aliens. That person, I forget her name at the moment, but she is our world representative. Take me to your leader scenario.
And then we have and there's been prominent discussions among a whole series of presidents in the last 20 years where this
agenda, this scenario is played out. Ronald Reagan.
Right. Yeah. Ronald Reagan. Good. Ronald Reagan would be one, and Clinton and Obama, and a lot of them.
Sure.
So
I want you guys to look into and really research. I plan to get his books as well. I want to bring to your attention a ufologist named Jacques Vallée, and I think that his quotes. I think that his quotes are important because he's non-Christian. Just give me a second. And I want you to look at what his conclusions of all of this UFOlogy, what conclusions his investigations have led him to say. So we have over here, and go do your own research on Jacques Vallée, but it's interesting because he's not Christian. I don't even think he's theistic. He's come to the conclusion, and we'll see through these quotes. I think they're interesting quotes. He says that when we're looking at the UFO, the UAP, call it what you want. They keep on changing the abbreviations, stuff like that. Whatever, the UFO, UAP, this phenomena. He says we are dealing with a yet unrecognized level of consciousness, independent of man, but closely linked to the earth. I do not believe anymore that UFOs are simply the spacecraft of some race of extraterrestrial visitors. This notion is too simplistic to explain their appearance, the frequency of their manifestations through the recorded history, and the structure of the information exchanged with them during contact. I'll just read them all. Says human beings are under the control of a strange force that bends them in absurd ways, forcing them to play a role in a bizarre game of deception. So we're starting to see that Jacques Vallée is seeing that these are not that there's something deceptive about this whole phenomena, that a game is being played, a chess game played. The symbolic display seen by the abductees is identical, in his opinion, to the type of initiation rituals or astral voyage that is embedded in the occult traditions of every culture. So we have this phenomena that's been going on since antiquity. Now, we're scientific and we're looking towards the government. We're looking for disclosure, and they're going, in my opinion, I just want to have a warning that they may be disclosing and giving us the actual deception that, that will be like, yeah, they're from this star system and all that, so that we truly, accept them. And in reality, this is the great spiritual deception. It's in the end times Bible too, the great deception, the deception that will this deception is going to be so damn convincing that the majority of the world will follow it. The symbolic display seen in the abductees is identical to the type of initiation rituals, astral voyage that is embedded in the occult traditions of every culture. The structure of abduction stories is identical to that of occult initiation rituals. The UFO beings of today belong to the same class of manifestations as the occult entities that were described in centuries past. Look into Jacques Vallée, please. Skeptics who flatly deny the existence of any unexplained phenomenon in the name of rationalism are among the primary contributors to the rejection of science by the public. People are not stupid, and they know very well when they have seen something that's out of the ordinary. When a so-called expert says to them the object must have been a moon or a mirage, he is really teaching the public that science is impotent. Now, mind you, don't forget this quote could have been like 30 years ago. Now we should be very, very skeptical. He says, if they are not an advanced race from the future, are we dealing instead with a parallel universe? This is what I feel is more accurate. Another dimension, right? Just like Genesis 6 was something about another dimension entering our realm, okay? And, mating with us. So another dimension where there are other human races living and where we may go at our expense, never to return to the present, ? From the mysterious universe are higher beings projecting objects that can materialize and dematerialize at will? Are the UFO windows rather than the objects? When I do see anything but what appears to be orbs or lights, and it just makes sense that we see all these light orbs and stuff like that on the moon, the activity and stuff like that. There'll be signs in heaven. What my brother's seeing, I fully support it's, and there's structures on the moon. It could be that this has nothing to do with fallen angels or aliens. It could have to do, I guess, with maybe just us on the moon or something. But and Bruce is very open-minded to all of that. He's not as close-minded as I am. But I like Jacques Vallée, the questions that he's asking. Instead of looking at the screen, no, this one here, the medical examination to which abductees are said to be subjected, often accompanied by sadistic sexual manipulation, is reminiscent of the medieval tales of encounters with demons. It makes no sense in sophisticated or technical framework. An intelligent being equipped with the scientific marvels that UFOs possess would be in a position to achieve any of these alleged scientific objectives in shorter time and with fewer risk. This is a very important quote here. I think he's spot on. I think the stage, and this is what I'm concerned about. I think the stage is set for the appearance of new faiths centered on UFO belief to a greater degree than all phenomena modern science is confronting. The UFO can inspire awe, the sense of the smallest of man, and the idea of the possibility of contact with the cosmic. The religions we have previously surveyed began with the miraculous experiences of one person, but today there are thousands for whom the belief is otherworldly. Contact is based on intimate conviction drawn from what they regard as personal contact with UFOs and their occupancies. And so just look into Jacques Vallée, not a Christian, but his conclusions run a lot more along the lines of malevolent and not our galactic brothers, but something from another dimension. And we're going to see that these stargates or angel gates, CERN, will play a large role, I believe. And I think that the initiations in the occult that you see, these rituals are very important. Okay. Well, we think it's like, oh, it's just fantasy and stuff. No, no, no. This is truly occult. They are summoning the demon. CERN needed to have, I believe that pagan altar there. They needed to do in front of the whole world. The more people that view the ritual, the more that our consciousness is 100% focused on it, the more power that initiation has.
Those are hints. Those are tantalizing to the masses.
Okay, little hints.
Yeah.
So what do you tie that into the CERN collider, and tell us where you think this agenda is going?
Well, I think we've addressed it to the extent of opening the portal to communicate. Let's talk about maybe someone else that everyone will recognize.
Sure.
That's Dr. Stephen Hawking,
Yes,
one of the most renowned particle physicists in the world, a mathematician.
Okay.
He made the statement, I'll paraphrase, but he said, we're addressing the agenda, the purpose of CERN. He said, you do not want to open this interdimensional gateway because you don't know what's going to come through.
So would he have been? Would you call him a critic of the program?
I would, in the sense of their goal of disturbing the fabric of space.
Right.
Because he said that if we are able to tear the veil, to go to the hadron, the God particle,
So
the Higgs boson.
Oh, yes, right.
They allegedly discovered this in the latter part of 2012 and into 2013. He said that if you disturb the Higgs field, which is part of this Higgs boson scenario, you could disturb that enough that you would create vacuums, a vacuum bubble that would envelop at the speed of light, not only this planet, but in the entire universe. Now, this is coming from an eminent scientist, mainstream scientist who's
an atheist.
He's an atheist.
Right.
Now, that hasn't happened. It hasn't played out yet since the discovery of the Higgs boson, and I apologize for the lapse. But what he is addressing is this rift, this opening of this portal, this interdimensional gateway, because he recognizes that there are entities on the other side that should not be in our realm, that barrier needs to be maintained.
Wait. Stephen Hawking recognizes that there are entities?
Yes.
And did he use the word entities or a similar word?
He uses unknown energies.
Unknown energies.
Right.
But he's referring to.
Just bring it back a little second there. I wanted to see
similar word.
He uses unknown.
Stephen Hawking. All of these things are not fact checked. I'm just reading what's up here. Okay, so it's for interest. It's for entertainment. I'm trying to give you a very global and generalized view. Might be wrong on tons of details, might be wrong on the whole darn thing, but I think that it's good that we have multiple narratives. Legendary physicist Stephen Hawking has expanded on his theories on black holes, claiming they are portals to another universe. Hawkins has now claimed you could travel through a black hole and survive. Interesting.
Unknown
energies,
right?
But he's referring to entities
in our parlance.
Okay, in our parlance. So he's concerned about unwanted visitors.
Yep.
A home invasion, if you will.
Sure.
Occultic CERN physicist claims large hadron collider may open portal to another dimension.
Sure.
From another dimension by entities.
That's correct. He's not the only one that's raised that issue.
Okay.
Not necessarily vacuum bubbles, but this communication and this opening. So there are enough atheist-oriented scientists out there who've been suppressed, but you can find their statements on the internet. This isn't conspiracy theorist origin. These are mainstream people who are saying, we really shouldn't do this. In fact, the director said,
the director of the Hadron Collider program.
Of the Large Hadron Collider, as I said earlier, said, we don't really know what's going to happen when we open this portal, but we're going to try it anyway. We're going to do it anyway. I'm paraphrasing. It's much like when the first atomic bomb was tested at Trinity.
Yes.
And Oppenheimer's famous statement, I've become God. I've become death, not God, but I've become death. Predating that were the concerns of the scientists at Los Alamos, worried that they would ignite the atmosphere.
The destroyer of worlds, he quotes Abaddon, Apollyon, and Shiva.
Atmosphere, when they detonated the first bomb. So they weren't sure. Now you can transplant that to the present time. We have the same scenario.
And as you know, because we discussed it earlier, Dr. Robert Oppenheimer, I guess the father of the Manhattan Project, that decision was made at the Bohemian Grove.
Yes.
Heavily occultic society near San Francisco. the same statue of the same Hindu god, Shiva, the destroyer of worlds, was there during the Manhattan Project.
Yes.
And that he knew that they were going to crack open something.
He's a practicing Hindu. He was a
Oh, he was. I
practicing
didn't know.
Hindu.
Okay. And now
We knew the world would not be the same. A few people laughed, a few people cried. Most people were silent. I remember the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." Robert Oppenheimer. Well put.
now here we fast forward to the Hadron Collider, and as you said, and I've seen the picture, and if you're a doubter, you can see the picture. It's everywhere. That same Hindu god, she's doing this weird dance. I believe it's Shiva.
It is Shiva, the god of destroyer, and then the leveling of the playing field, the wiping clean of the slate,
Right.
and then the rebirthing. That's
Right.
the three-step process that she's a duality.
That's right,
represents,
right.
and that speaks to the movement of transhumanism we see today.
Right.
But also the geometry of the statue is replicated in the machine itself in the form of the geometric configuration of the detectors that are analyzing the particles when they collide.
Wow.
So the geometry is there, which speaks to sacred geometry and numerology that's
Right,
employed here
right.
as well. Now, let me underscore real quick.
Yeah.
Not my belief, their belief. And I assign it to the world of mythology.
Okay.
I don't find this in scripture.
Okay.
But we do see their practice of their worship of the black sun.
Yes.
You mentioned the Nazis sort of offhand there.
The Vril force.
Exactly, the
Right.
Vril society. So
Right.
when we look at the hidden agenda, we have to look at Saturn and the worship of Saturn, again, the Vatican, but we can put it to the science now. And
We're looking at the Vril. You can see also, if you do a deep dive into Nazi Germany and the occultism, the occultic ties with Hitler, the evidence that he was like actually possessed by a demon, and when he went on stage, he was completely different.
they believe that with the Large Hadron Collider, they can reconnect electrically in a more profound fashion than exists electrically now with Saturn. All the planets, everything communicates electrically already in the electric model of the universe. But they want to establish a profound plasma conduit, I call it,
Plasma conduit. Okay.
between Earth and Saturn, because they believe they can tap into both spiritual and physical energy from
Right.
that planet for their use here on this planet. And
From
it all
Saturn.
plays in Saturn.
Right. This is not esoteric stuff. This is the new normal.
Correct.
It
is.
Anybody goes to the movies, the kids are saturated with this.
Yep.
Stanley Kubrick, as you know,
Mhm.
was
Crazy.
secretly trying to communicate this stuff about the Saturn satanic cult in his films, especially 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Absolutely.
That was a reference to the planet Saturn.
Yes.
And these black obelisks and alchemical magic, and he was involved in I don't know if you can say good Freemasons, bad Freemasons, but he was obviously involved in some kind of occultic belief system.
Yes.
But he was very much opposed to this Saturn death cult, as he
Correct.
called it, and he tried to communicate it through symbols and language in his movies.
Yes, he did.
So, I mean, this may sound like science fiction to you, but it's not science fiction. It would have sounded like science fiction to have a cell phone and an automobile and a jet 200 years ago.
Sure.
But the world changed. It's now normal. There's so many important things. And now people say, oh, this is new age and whatever. Well, that's nonsensical. That's like saying your cell phone's new age.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
true,
saying?
true.
You're talking about science and technology, and your study of the Bible and your understanding of theology, you then draw in from a biblical worldview and an analysis from a biblical worldview of what's going on based on the documented statements of these people.
Correct.
Which matches up, for example, with the Apostle Paul in Ephesians. For our fight is not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, and the dark unseen forces of wickedness in heavenly places. So this hierarchy of beings that Hawking alluded to,
All right. So I've posted the StreamYard. Regular guests are allowed to come up now, so we can maybe just finish that last 10-15 minutes of the video, but we can start having a discussion. Guys, I haven't been neglecting you. Donnie, I really appreciate all of your comments. Kai, thanks for the moderation, as well as Darla Hauser. I have been watching your comments too. Not really stopping. I just wanted to get through this. Hey, Matt, thanks a lot. I have been eyeing everything. If you guys want to come on and, just kind of give a general idea of what you've just seen on my live stream, Like, what thoughts have come to mind? Have you changed your mind? Totally disagree? Just want to share a possible perspective, because the more perspectives, the stronger. Again, always remaining respectful of each other's differences. It's up to you. Come on up if you'd like. Until then, I'm still playing this. I'll look back at the studio every minute or so.
The other director of the Hadron Collider, it's not non-biblical. It's not New Age. It's
Correct.
simply an integration of technology and science, and that's not New Age. That's what I don't think a lot of people get the fact that science has merged with the New Age movement and the occult.
I think that if people will accept the fact that you can go to the internet and you can see the documentation of what I've already described, that's evidence that you could take to someone who perhaps hasn't been saved and use that as leverage, as inducement, as a way to get them to begin to think critically for themselves. Something that a lot of us have lost because of environmental, because of culture, because of education system, the indoctrination processes we've talked about, have lost that critical analytical process.
Yeah, right.
That critical thinking skill. It's a skill set.
Right.
But if you can take the evidence and encourage someone to use their rudimentary abilities to think critically and examine the evidence and perhaps pursue that evidence, which is the purpose of my books, then they can come to a realization themselves that the evidence speaks for itself, not only the physics that's going on, but the agenda that's driving the physics. Because I often say you cannot separate the physical from the spiritual.
Right.
So to say that science operates in a vacuum is full of hot air.
Yeah, right.
It's nonsense.
Right.
So science is definitely, it's alchemy.
Yes.
Of
alchemy.
old today.
Right. Sorcery.
It is sorcery,
Right.
and it is spiritual, but they're integrated together. The goal is to take the evidence and save souls.
To take the evidence
and save
that you're
souls.
talking about and save souls.
Exactly.
And I agree with you, because there's so many young people, the millennial generation, younger, adults of all age groups. They're turned off by religion. They're turned off by the religion of Christianity. But when you start to use these scientific facts, which are loosely interpreted in all the movies they're watching, the one with Johnny Depp when he uploads his consciousness into a computer, and we could go on and on and on.
Sure.
You
That
grab
is tangible and relatable.
Right.
It has relevance to their frame of mind and their present way of thinking and their culture.
Exactly.
Generation.
Yes.
It's relevant to them because you can give them something that's not only tangible,
right,
but something that they understand because of the predictive programming they've been fed.
Right.
We flip that around 180 degrees, that programming, and say, use that programming as evidence to say, here's the truth.
Agreed. Now, let's get back to the beast system, because obviously the beast system is in the Bible in numerous places, Revelation 13 especially, with the false prophet and the Antichrist and the mark of the beast, which could be a microchip implant, nanochip, whatever.
What do you want to come on?
You talk about, it's difficult for me to pronounce the name of the computer.
Adiabatic.
The adiabatic.
Means without heat processed, adiabatic quantum computer. AQC is the easier way to talk about it, AQC.
Okay, now you relate this to the beast system. I want to find out why.
Sure.
But you tell us, and I want our viewers to grasp this, that are they building this computer now?
It's already been built in the model 2048. They started with a 128 model.
Right, not the year, but the model number 2048.
No.
Right.
It's already built.
Well, there have been
They're talking about D-Wave quantum computers. This was the one. Let me try and see if I can find on YouTube TED Talk. I'm still streaming. No, just warning, just in case. I didn't say to be silent. I just reminded the kids, because sometimes they talk like vulgar to be truthful. YouTube. I'll have to find it maybe another time. Where is it? I'll recognize the guy. I'm pretty sure it was a TED Talk. That might narrow it down a bit. I'll let this play while I'm searching for it.
Multiple generations that have been built.
But the early stages, like the early Apple.
First one was 2008.
Wow.
The 2048 was released to the public in January of last year, 2015.
Now, you describe it as equivalent to 7 billion human brains. Has this computer reached that level yet?
Yes.
So this computer, how big is it, by the way, physically?
Well, interestingly, it's housed in a black cube. Can you say Mecca?
Right.
Black sun, the worship of, and we go to 2001 with the obelisk, right? It wasn't a cube, but it was a black rectangle.
How big of a black cube
So
is it?
we're talking about something that's about the size of this stage here in the studio.
So this computer is about a black cube about the size of this television set,
right?
And yet it has the intelligence and memory.
I'm going to stop for a second. Here, computer artificial intelligence is the altar of an alien god. Science is bringing about the Antichrist. I do want to show you over here. It's worth looking into this guy talking. I don't remember which one it is, but it's probably one of the top ones here.
You may consider this next group of speakers somewhat unusual, if not to say strange. We have the creator of what is the world's first quantum computer in person here from Burnaby, BC. We have the president of the super high-tech company that makes Canada's iconic Canada Arm, but whose hobby it is to try and reconcile modern science with the Bible. And we have a filmmaker from Los Angeles who has stumbled on what appears.
As an aside, I just wanted to say that at least in the Valley, Silicon Valley, and maybe in the United States in general, there's a very deep feeling of unease about the way technology has been developing. Because we have all of these vast array of very smart people, and what they're doing is crap. They're building things that cannot last. They're building things that are not important. This is a little bit of a controversial point of view, but I believe it. But I think that the reason for this is it's low-hanging fruit. Computers haven't been around for a long time. And I think that what's going to happen is that as people get more comfortable with computers, the attention will turn from the Twitters and the Facebooks to very important things. So here's my first prediction. I'm going to predict that by 5 years, NASA will have found an Earth-like planet with Earth-like atmosphere and water on it, and serious people will start discussing how we get there. And by the way, they're going to use one of our machines to help do this. So that's my first prediction. My second prediction is that this business of parallel universes is going to turn out to be very important. This picture that I've got under here is what's called a gravitational lens. When Einstein proposed his general theory of relativity, it came with a bunch of experiments.
Important to notice, this guy is saying this 8 years ago. I skipped all of the front. I just went to the end of the predictions. So let's just listen to what he said 8 years ago.
That you could use to test it. And one of them was that if there was a point of light very far away and a galaxy in the middle, that galaxy should bend the light and you should see a ring. And this was eventually observed. And I think what's going to happen is somebody is going to come up with an experiment to test this reality of these things. And we're going to be able to do so. My third prediction that I'm going to end on is the most important of all. I believe that humanity is on the cusp of the most important technological, societal revolution that's ever occurred. And that's when we got to the point where the machines that we build outpace us in every respect. I don't mean that they're better calculators. I don't mean that they're better at searching. I mean everything. And I think that we're very close. And my prediction is that within 15 years, we will have machines that outpace humans in everything. Thank you very much.
Stop the share. Well, go check out Gordy. He's the one that's talking about this. God. Shut this down. Let's go for another 15 minutes to finish this, and then we'll end, guys. Okay, sharing. We're at 42 minutes, and it's 51 minutes left, so it won't be too long. Share screen. Good.
Whatever. That's equivalent to 7 billion human brains.
That's correct. Now, this is a housing. This is a shield that separates it from all electromagnetic interference,
okay,
to maintain the stability of the processor. Okay, it's what's called coherence and decoherence in computer science. But inside the cube is something that is arranged just like the spinal column of a human, and it has what are known as qubits that are essentially constructed of gold, but other components. But these are not transistor-based. Qubits are a complete departure in the technology from transistors, which are silicon gate model processors. This is a complete quantum leap into another way of processing information. And it does so quickly that it has no relevance, no comparison to the gate model transistor-based, even transistor quantum computer. So we're talking about something that most people who have not studied the adiabatic quantum computer process can't wrap their heads around. It's a very deep topic, but I want to be succinct here. It operates interdimensionally. When I spoke of earlier that they're already communicating with the other.
Here, quantum computation will be the first technology that allows useful tasks to be performed in collaboration between parallel universes. David, TED Talks 2005.
Side, without having opened a gateway, a portal, a physical portal in the dimension,
the Quantum Artificial Intelligence Lab will use the most advanced commercially available quantum computer, the D-Wave.
Communicating using this computer because, and this comes right from the manufacturers, this public disclosure information. I didn't have to get this in a secretive manner. They do what are called combinatorial programming. They take all possible solutions and at one time feed it into the machine through an interface, which happens to be a black cube itself, the interface device. And by their own admission, it enters into another dimension where the processing takes place. And then they extract from that other dimension the solution to the combinatorial problem. That is communication with an actual.
It promises to solve some of humanity's most complex problems. It's backed by Jeff Bezos, NASA, and CIA. Each costs $10 million and operates below 459 degrees Celsius, and nobody knows how it actually works. Safe.
Physical tool to another dimension.
Now, when it's communicating to another dimension, is it communicating to a consciousness or an intelligence in another dimension?
Yes.
It is.
Yes. Because it happens definitively, repeatedly, measurably. They're able to do this consistently. There was a lot of doubt in the transistor-based world of quantum computing that the company that put this quantum or qubit-based processor together, that they really were achieving any definitive answers and that were reliable and coherent, okay, that were stable. But they have proven over and over again. Let me give you one example of who's purchasing Google. The first model was purchased by Lockheed and USC with an open public computer laboratory that the public can access with their first model, and it has advanced through 512 model, for example, where two of which were purchased by Google a few years ago. They now have the 2048. The 2048 represents the number of qubits. That is connected to the Large Hadron Collider for the purpose of opening the portal and maintaining.
Yeah, of course, it makes sense. Like you're going to have the Angel Gate attached as well to quantum computing, and all of that will be an interface of AI, which that will likely be implemented transhumanism, right? Implemented inside of us. A hive mind.
The stability.
Which, if you actually look at a lot of crests and stuff in the occult, there's always a beehive. There's a reason it's the hive mind that they want. Remember, you have the overlords that, you know, are human, but they are in contact with other dimensions, with the fallen angels, whether they know it or not. And they are the secret initiates. They could care less about the billions and billions of what Noah Yuval Harari from the World Economic Forum says, the useless class.
Of it.
Okay, so when you say this computer is connected to the Large Hadron Collider, it somehow is electronically or something connected to?
It's no different than computer networking setup.
So it's networked into the Large Hadron Collider.
That's correct.
So we have literally, it's like, reminds me of 2001: Space Odyssey. There's the ape.
With artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon. Yet he's like doing Neuralink and stuff like that. He's kind of like, well, you know what? If you can't beat him, join him.
Al 9000.
Yeah, and then there's the ape and the obelisk, and then POW.
Sure.
Like, he's not the good guy that's like Mr. Freedom of Speech and Twitter and stuff like that, okay? We're entering the end times, and there's either you are on Yahweh's side or you are willingly or unwillingly, for the majority of people, deceived.
And yet I believe in the biblical worldview.
Sure.
But it would seem to me that with this level of 7 billion human brains of intelligence, And
This is the beast system.
yeah, the beast system. It seems to me that it is already, well, it's already artificially intelligent,
Absolutely.
but it must be self-advancing itself.
Yes.
So it's moving towards a singularity where its intelligence surpasses man.
Mm-hmm.
Do you
That's
think
correct.
it's already on the way to that?
It is. That is the goal. The question often arises, is it yet sentient? Is it self-aware? I don't
Right.
believe it is.
Okay.
I don't, and I base that only on the evidence that I look at, not conjecture or speculation.
So
I don't think it has.
So tell us how, in a biblical sense, this connects with the beast system in the book of Revelation.
Well, the beast system, we hear of, if you don't accept the mark of the beast, then no man can buy or sell. All of that control mechanism. How do you control over 7 billion people?
Right.
You have a computer that's equivalent to 7 billion people. That's why I
Right.
cite that, coming from the manufacturer's own citation. Okay. So I'm just
And Noah Yuval Harari said that very specifically. He goes, the previous totalitarians did not have the technological means to control the way they wanted the population. But now, with all of this, he says there is the danger of a totalitarian that can take control of this power and basically enslave us. And it's like he's talking, that's pretty much it.
repeating their information.
There's actually a lot of like screaming and yelling, but they're having fun downstairs.
But the point is, you have to have a sophisticated system to be able to control not just the movement of people and the movement of goods and transactions and governments, but the minds of people. You're creating a serf class of human beings.
Right.
When you accept the mark of the beast, you lose all awareness that you have even been modified. You don't even know that you've been changed.
So your memory's erased, like some of the sci-fi movies.
Well, in the sense of your own self-awareness, your
Right.
own knowledge of your soul.
Okay, so when you take the biblical,
Like, for example, people that take hits of DMT, right? So there's a lot of DMT experimentations. One of the most potent psychedelic that naturally is excreted in our pituitary glands. Just give me I'll let them yell. I'm just losing track a bit. DMT. People are doing this sorcery called pharmakia, and opening up these experiences. And within these experiences, they're talking to these weird, like the tree people, the stick people, whatever. And the thing is that people are taking DMT and having similar discussions with similar beings. It's not just like an individual person's hallucination. I'll just let it play.
biblical mark of the beast, which is technology, it's deeper than
It goes to the
it goes to. Tell us how it goes to.
Okay. This sounds far-fetched, but when you accept the mark of the beast, what you are actually doing is accepting into your body and then controlled from an external source. That control mechanism, the linkage, comes through the electromagnetic connection. We can call it microwaves or whatever, or ELF, extremely low frequency, be it whatever frequency. But that is the link to humans from that computer. And that is the beast system that controls us through our DNA, which has been modified. And then it changes our thought processes. It rewires our synapses in our own mind.
There is one thing that when you do look at the mark of the beast and corrupting the image, and there's some Christians that think, the mark of the beast is literally something that will change your DNA. It's quite possible. I also think that it's very important that it in the Bible, it kind of makes it quite clear that it's a decision. It's not something like that they're going to throw in the air, these nano robots, and then we're going to inhale them and become, that's the mark of the beast. And because this has become injected or whatever inside our body now, that's it. No, it's going to be a decision, at least as far as the decision whether to take the mark of the beast or not. It is going to be a clear decision of whether you're going to do it or not. That in the Bible is clear, and that determines your destiny. And is the destiny determined because, yes, in fact, if you do take the mark of the beast, you are changed genetically to such an extent that you are no longer in the image of God. Quite possible, but it's not something that they'll say, hey, it's this, and then you get it and they're like, haha, no, you're never getting to heaven kind of thing. no, it also that it is a sign of who you're worshiping.
Fine.
Right.
Because our brains are constructed.
Right.
You modify the core, you modify the brain.
I want to share this with you, and I'm so thankful that we had the opportunity to Anthony and his incredible research. This may be overwhelming to you, but I want to just remind you of something, and I know Anthony knows this, and I know many of you know this. God knew you before the foundation of the world. He knew you outside of space and time. He knew you before he created the world. He pre-planned for you to be here at this exact time period in human history. Now, since God pre-planned for you to be here in this time period of human history, where all this stuff is happening that Anthony is explaining and others from a biblical perspective, you don't have to have fear because God pre-planned for you to be here in this time zone when all this stuff was going on. And that obviously implies that God already downloaded in you before the beginning of time, and I'm using this in a metaphorical sense, the apps or applications or the spiritual gifts or the natural gifts that you need.
Okay, he's complicating it. The Holy Spirit is a spirit of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. It's the Holy Spirit that will guide the believers as well as the scriptures that were inspired. And God, inspired people to write exactly what needed to be in that book called the Bible. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to stop it here, guys, because we must be verging on 3 hours. I think that 3 hours is the big maximum. We're past 3 hours. Oh, gosh. So have a good night. Thanks a lot for watching. Please stay tuned. There will be more discussions. I really wanted to get through this video. We got through the whole video. Now, next time I have some time, let's get everybody who's interested. Wesley, if you're interested, I want to get you guys all on the panel. And right now, let's have an interesting topic and share ideas. And that's for another time, I guess. So amazing outcome, a lot of really good discussions in the chat. I'm sorry if I missed any of you guys and didn't acknowledge anybody. Everyone is greatly appreciated. I believe Bruce has a live stream this evening as well. See you guys, and God bless.